Hi folks. Welcome to another Spaces, or should we call it X Spaces now with me. My name is Kalu Aja, and here we talk money, finance, and of course the economy. We want to make it personal to you. We want to take the stories of the week or what's happening in the economic front and want to explain it so you can become a better investor, and how it does affect your wallet is very important to us. So this week, we want to talk about the CBN, the Central Bank of Nigeria's recently published 2022 annual report. We want to talk about the whole controversy surrounding the pegging or the floating of the Nigerian Naira vis-a-vis the reference currency, which is the US dollar. And then, of course, talk about other issues. If you have a question in the economy or on investing, we can talk about it. So, more or less an open house, right? Don't hold back. I'm just going to do a quick 5-minute intro into the topics. Then, if you want to speak or you have a DM, just send over, and of course, we'll talk about it so we can all learn together. So let's just jump right into the first topic I want to hit today, with the Central Bank of Nigeria's 2022 annual report. Now, why this is so, or why it caused so much, we say, traffic on social media was because in the past, the central bank, I would say in the last maybe 5 years or so, or longer, they have not released their annual report. So whatever the Central Bank of Nigeria has been doing, they haven't told Nigerians about it, right? Things have been silent over there. And they're a very, very big institution because they've been playing a lot in the economy. Usually, central banks focus only on the monetary side, i.e. the money, right? The monetary interest rates and all that kind of stuff. But we've had under this Central Bank Governor Emefiele a very interventionist central bank that is focusing on directly playing in the economy, either through giving out low interest loans or creating, should we say, programs where farmers, banks, and all that are getting, financing at below market forces. Nothing wrong with that. Most central banks do the same thing across the world. Most central banks in the US, when you hear quantitative easing, these are basically interventionist programs to help the economy. Nothing wrong with that. But we've done a lot. The central bank this time have done a lot in the Nigerian economy. We've printed monies and all that. But so we've not really seen, should we say, the real official numbers out till this came out. So I looked at it, a lot of comments online, like insolvency, all that kind of stuff. I took my time over the weekend, looked through the report. I didn't see anything really here that would suggest like any smoking gun or that anything was really happening. I didn't really see anything amiss. The main thing that struck me was the external reserve position, right? Where we are on the external reserve. That did strike me. And I'll explain to you what I'm talking about. So the central bank used to publish the external reserves on their website. I think last time I saw it, I think it was in November last year, November 2022. I think it was about 27 or 28 billion was what was on the website. But what we then find out from the report, the annual report, is that the central bank's foreign reserves as of December was about 32 billion. I mean, it's just 32 billion. Just 32 billion. Not a lot. Not a lot for a country that does a lot of imports. I mean, our PMS import bill is anywhere north of 2 billion. This is just PMS. We're not talking about food. This is not a lot of money at all. But this 32 billion, if you look at all the notes around it, number one, we have pledged this money to JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, i.e. we borrowed from them. So these reserves are our collateral. I think about 7.5 of that total borrowing, using our foreign reserves as collateral, is what we did, right? And then we also have, should we say, we have what we call the forward market. So if you bring dollars into Nigeria, you can buy a contract from the central bank, or to say, if you want to take your dollars out in, say, 2 years, the central bank will give you the dollars at that price you buy today. So for instance, you could say, I'm bringing in $1 million today, but in 2 years, I would like to buy my dollars back from the central bank at an exchange rate of, say, 700. So whatever the rate is in 2 years, the central bank must sell to you dollars at 700. So the central bank is essentially taking a gamble or taking a risk that the currency will be lower than 700 so that you wouldn't come back and execute your contract. So they make a profit of your deposit that you've made. That's the central bank is taking your cash today and hoping that if this exchange rate is better, you wouldn't come back to the central bank to get that contract executed. So their profit is the premium they collect from you in advance. Of this pledged dollar, right, I think we have close to about a billion, about 6.8 billion. So 6.8 billion is what we have as the pledge for this forward contract. So if you take away the 7.5 billion that we have with Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, we took a loan from them, and you add this about 6.8 billion that we have, you can then see that the reserves have gone from about 32 billion to nearly just over 20 billion, right? So the point I'm making is that the real number that we say we have in terms of external reserves for the largest economy in Africa is less than 20 billion. Less than 20 billion, guys. And that was a real shocker to me, because that immediately tells you that this is why we have floated the currency, right? Because we can't afford a peg. When you peg your currency, now we're in the second part of the discussion. When you peg your currency, you are essentially saying, this value of my naira, the naira, is going to be represented by something else. In this case, the US dollar, right? So if the dollar goes up, naira goes up. If the dollar comes down, naira goes down. So what Nigeria has done is to say we're going to peg it at a level of the NAFEX rate. This was before the float. Nigeria pegged her naira to the NAFEX. So the NAFEX was about, say, 468. So what Nigerian central bank is telling you is that if you take 468 to the central bank, they'll give you $1. But you and I know that never happened. Matter of fact, all the airlines, most of the airlines are all old. Emirates has left Nigeria because they couldn't get dollars at the 468. So that peg that the CBN published, it never worked. It never ever worked for the Nigerian economy. So that was just a peg on paper to make the naira look strong. But what that did was to say people could go and get central bank at that pegged rate. You could do transactions at that pegged rate. And that sort of distorted the economy. So Nigerians, if you ask a Nigerian last year, what's the value of naira, they'll tell you, the value of naira is 468. Why? Because that's what the central bank says it is, which was wrong, right? Because the value of the naira was never 468. That was the peg that the naira was put at the peg. So now we've undepegged the naira. We've allowed it to float. So when you remove the peg, the naira floats. We are now seeing the naira go to about 900 to $1. And Nigerians are saying this value is too weak, right? That naira should be stronger than this. And I'm saying no, the naira is not depreciating. The naira is going to its true value. The true value of the naira was this 900. It's not falling. The naira isn't falling, guys. This is the value of your currency, right? It's like, and I give an example on Twitter. Imagine me, Kalu, I peg my expenses to Dangote. And I say Dangote buys shoe, I buy shoe. Dangote buys Agbada, I buy Agbada. That's okay now. But Dangote buys private jet. I go and borrow and buy private jet. But Dangote can service his private jet without borrowing. I, Kalu, can't service my private jet without borrowing. That's what Nigeria has done. So we've been borrowing money from JP Morgan, from Goldman, from the forward market to maintain a peg of 468. I just gave you the figures, guys. So we've borrowed 6.8. When I mean borrow, that's the outstanding liability Nigeria is owing the forward market. That if the forward market crystallizes, which means if everyone that has booked a contract with the Nigerian Central Bank goes and says, we would like to exercise this contract, Nigeria would have to pay 6.8 billion to the contract holders. How would it pay them? It would have to sell them, right, the currency, the dollar, at the price that it pledged, which means that maybe the price has gone up to 1,000. They will still buy it at that, using an example, 700. Just an example. That's $6.8 billion. And also with gold, between Goldman and JP Morgan, $7.5 billion. So if those come due, then the foreign reserves are going to reduce by this amount. And the foreign reserves is what keeps your currency value at that 468 that we thought it was at. So now we no longer have 30 something billion. We don't have the 32 billion we saw on the CBN website. We have less than 20. And once we have less than 20, the central bank had got to unpeg so the currency can float and to its real value. Just like if I no longer can afford my private jet that I bought with Dangote, what do? I have to sell it. I have to depeg from Dangote. If I depeg from him, then I don't need my private jet anymore. The same with the Central Bank of Nigeria. They can no longer peg to the dollar, because if they peg the Naira to the dollar or to any other issue, then they have to maintain a foreign reserve to maintain that peg, which means if you go to the central bank today with 468, they should give you $1. So what stops you from taking your dollar to the streets and selling for 900 and making a quick profit of about 400 Naira? Nothing. That's why they have to take the peg away. It has nothing to do with whether the structure is good or it's not good. No, we've passed that level. We can't afford a 468 Naira dollar. What this means for you folks, listen to me, that if you live in Nigeria today, your standard of living has got to change. Because for the first time, I would say in the last maybe 8 years, you are going to see the real economy staring you in the face. Because all those things you took for granted, the imported DSTV, the going to school abroad that are priced in dollars, can you really afford it? Can you really afford it? Because it's now at the real dollar rate, not at the 468. Most of us, when we want to go to school abroad, we're going to apply for PTA, or we apply for education funds from the central bank, and those funds are given to us at the subsidized rate, the 468. That's why we can afford to go to school abroad. Now, if you want to go to school abroad, you've got to buy your dollars at 900. So can you really afford DSTV? Can you really afford to go to school abroad? Can you afford to buy imported hair? Can you afford to buy your Arsenal jersey? That's the question for Nigerians now. And that's why you see the consumption in Nigeria has fallen, because the answer is simple. We can't afford it. Why can't we afford it? Our minimum wage is nothing. It's less than 30,000 Naira a month. So if you do the maths, that's less than $1 or something like that for most people a month. This is just 30K. We know no one earns 30. Some earn less, some earn more. But that's just the situation. The Nigerian population, the middle class, has disappeared, and it has been replaced by very, very rich and very, very poor. How many Nigerians do you know can afford a brand new car of any model? Chinese, Innocent, Toyota. How many Nigerians do you know can afford a brand new car? Not from the company. Can go to their bank and get a loan. Not just a loan, even a loan. Brand new car. What's the monthly pay? Then what's the monthly paid or your monthly take home? That, folks, is a situation. We're not talking if the policy is good or bad. I'm not here to explain if the policy by the president is good or if the policy by the president is bad. All I'm telling you is that right now, if you live in Nigeria, you are now seeing the real economy, not the subsidized economy. You're now seeing the real price of petrol. You're seeing the real price of dollars, which means if you have survived on cheap imported petrol, no more. If you've survived on cheap dollars, no more. Hence, you have to change your consumption. You have to change how you invest, because that is where you are right now. Simple and short, guys. Nothing depressing about it. Just stating the actual for us. So that's my talk. Yeah, and I hope I try to make it as simple as possible. I try not to use really economic terms. Mr. Satoshi wants to speak. Everything Satoshi. I hope you'll not come and tell me that the solution is...
No. I just have a quick question concerning what you were talking about earlier on about the contract.
Go ahead, sir.
And I just want to say, would you agree that since you have an in-depth knowledge of the contract, I just want you to expand for us noobs that are not so inclined and answer whether or not you would agree that those contracts were scams, because obviously JP Morgan knows that, or will have better heuristics to determine that the purchasing power of a third world country like Nigeria will keep going down. Hence, what would you say to the intent of the contract? Okay. And then would you say that how would you say that those dollars were sourced? Would you say those are just euro dollars or dollars directly from onshore United States sent here via SWIFT and all of that? Those are my main concerns that I wanted you to sort of address.
Yeah, so I'm taking off my notebook so I can write it down, right? So number one, you're asking, the intent, the sourcing, and all that kind of stuff. That's a great question. And let me explain in detail what a forward contract is, right? When you see this derivative contract, their origin is from the agricultural sector. In the past, right, you have a farmer that maybe farms maize. The farmer sells maize and takes his maize to the market and sells. But some guys were innovative and told the farmer, why don't I pay you today, farmer, for your maize? I'll pay you today for maize for next harvesting season. So you pay the farmer today for the maize in future. Hence, it's called a futures market. So you are paying the farmer today for maize, and the farmer has got to deliver maize to you a year from today. So what's the risk to the farmer? What if the farmer maize in the next year is very expensive, which means the farmer is going to make more profit if he sells his maize on the open market, what we call on the spot. So the farmer sells his maize next year on the spot, he makes more money. But he has already committed to sell his maize to you into the future today. What's the advantage to the farmer? He gets cash today. What's the disadvantage? Tomorrow, the maize may be more expensive, so he loses money. But let's flip it. If the farmer gets cash today, what happens in future? If the price goes down, well, the farmer has made out because he has gotten his cash today. So it's a gamble against the future price of that commodity. So let's bring it to currencies. When the central bank opens up a futures market, what they are saying, they are trying to attract investors. If I am an investor and I come to Nigeria, let's say I change 100,000 dollars to naira, and I change it at say 500 to 1, right, for 100,000. So I get maybe, let's just say 50 million naira. The problem is not the naira I've gotten. If I want to go out of Nigeria in 3 years, I need my dollars back. But if I go to the market, they tell me, oh, there are no dollars in the market. So what do? What I will do is that I will go to the Central Bank of Nigeria and buy a futures contract that will say in that 3 years, I will get dollars from the central bank at a price. And the central bank will quote me a price. The central bank can say, okay, we're going to give you your dollars at say 600. So I've already built in my contract. I get into Nigeria at 500 to $1, but I can go out at 600 to $1. It's an open market. They quote the quotes openly. So you can see what the buy is, you can see what the sell is, the bid and the offer. So you go in and you buy at 500 and you say, well, to go out, I'm going to buy at 600. So what's the advantage to you? You know that whatever happens, you're going to get dollars at 600. So you can then build out your profits forecast and your Excel sheets to know if this is going to be profitable for you or not. But what if the price of the dollar goes to 500? Of course, you won't go and buy dollars at 600 because you can get it cheaper outside. So you don't go back to the central bank to exercise your contract of 600. Hence, the CBN makes a profit because you paid a premium to get into this contract. So that premium you made, the CBN keeps it. That's their profit. But what if the dollar goes to 800? Aha! Now you will rush to the central bank and exercise your contract at 600. Because whatever the price is, the central bank must pay you 600. Hence, the central bank is going to lose money because they have to give you these dollars that is worth 800 at 600. And you make a profit because you can then take your 600 and sell at 800. You can trade your futures, right? So that's the structure of the futures market. It's not a scam. It's not, JP Morgan and co are not trying to hoodwink Nigerians. We have to have this market because we have not secured and formalized our exports. Our exports are supposed to be so clockwork. We sell oil, folks pay us oil, we bank our export dollars. Mexico does an derivative trade where every year they lock in their export proceeds and they say whatever happens, we are going to get X amount of dollars flowing into the Mexican central bank, irrespective of the price of crude oil. So they have a different sort of contract that they do. We don't have that sort of contract. So the point is that because you have oil theft, because you have corruption, the revenues don't flow back into Nigeria. So you had the JP Morgan released a report where they were telling their investors that they should leave Nigerian bonds because Nigeria is not crediting JP Morgan, which are their bankers, with the export proceeds of crude oil sales. So Nigeria, they said Nigeria was the only country selling crude oil that when the price of crude oil went up, their revenues did not go up. So when you have that sort of situation, that's the problem. That these futures trades, they don't matter because the central bank has no dollars to cover them. So from 32 billion, we now have a reserve of less than 20 billion. That's the reality. And that's why the Naira has got to go up to 1,000. Sorry, up to 900. That's the reality. So everything Satoshi does that. Now it's custom.
The dollars directly that was given to the administration that got this contract, right? Where would you say, like the part B of the question, are those dollars sourced from the United States, or these are just euro dollars that are from credit expansion?
This is from investors that are bringing in capital to Nigeria through what we call the capital importation certificate. It has nothing to do with the government. So if you, Satoshi, want to bring in $10,000 to Nigeria, you would go to your bank in Bank of America and say, transfer money to Nigeria. They transfer money to Nigeria, they give you a CIC to show you imported money legally. Is this money that you can go and buy a forward? That's what we're talking about. It's not the money that Buhari, it is the central bank's contract with you or your financial institution to say if you inflow funds, we're offering you a forward market that you can buy and cover your forward exposure. This was supposed to be what the airlines. You saw what last week, the last spaces we had, we talked about most of the multinationals having foreign currency losses. And we're asking the question, why didn't they hedge? This is what we're talking about. So if Guinness, for instance, had bought a forward contract in dollar terms, Guinness could have then gone back to the central bank and says, hey, want to buy dollars at whatever price that is on that contract. But the bigger question to you is this. The airlines have got matured formal contract and the central bank has not paid them. So you want to ask yourself a question that even the guys that have reasonable liabilities that are securitized with the central bank, they are still not paid. The airlines are still not paid. They pay them half or something like that. So that's the question, right? Does it really work? I always ask that question on Twitter. Does this market really work? And the quotes are there, but if I buy that contract, will the central bank really pay me? Like an insurance company, if I buy a life policy, will that insurance contract actually pay me when the event occurs? That's what's going on, Satoshi. It's a big problem, We need the inflow, but even when the inflow has come in, I don't know. I hope I've answered that question, Satoshi. Thank you so much.
You helped me really understand the structure.
And if you want to know where the market is, the FX market I'm talking about, go to @FMDQ. They're on Twitter, @FMDQ. Just follow them on Twitter. They have a forward market. They keep the forward market. You see, every day they post the rate on the dollar, Naira, and also on the forward market. I'll try to share a screenshot on the forward market latest assets that they have. I'll try to put it on Twitter, but that's where you get the forward market @FMDQ. I've got Lady. Is that Labi? Labi, go ahead. So you've got the floor.
Yeah, thanks, Carlos. So, just looking at the situation, I feel Nigeria has a very dear problem currently. But one question I want to ask is, going back to Nigeria oil exports, Nigeria has about 1,200 million barrels per day, and multiplying that with the current crude oil sales, I think Nigeria has the potential to kind of boost their FX reserve. But what do you think is actually the fundamental structural problem that is making this looks unachievable?
It's a
That's just
simple
what I
answer.
was
It's a
very
simple answer. Theft of crude oil. The figures you are quoting, if you can go online to Google and Google Nigeria's oil export, it's flat. We've not achieved the numbers that we're achieving, and I believe it's 2012. Where we are right now is what we're exporting in 2012. But let me give you the problem. The problem is that the oil is being stolen. So we're not exporting the volumes we should be exporting. When we drill oil, folks come in, put pipes to it, and sell it. So even when oil prices go up, we don't get the revenue.
Don't you think? Sorry to interject. Sorry, but don't you think that our contracting within the oil and gas asset space is also part of the problem here?
Yeah, but even if the contracting was bad,
because
so hold on, Labi, it's a good question.
We actually don't own those. We don't own those crude 100%, right?
Yes, but
we own it based on the different contracts from deep water, PSC contracts, and JV contracts. So we own a percentage of those crudes.
True.
And NNPC does not operate assets directly. They operate it through third-party private companies.
True.
And those private companies have relationships that are either 60-40, 55-45, or even for deep water, it's 68-32.
But
the
problem is this,
at the end
right?
of the day,
Bam, you're right. You're right. That the
so
way...
at the end of the day, we don't even own all of the crude. Coupled with the fact that most of these guys are... So I think really... Sorry to interject, but I just wanted to make this point. I think the real issues that a lot of Nigerians are not seeing is the ripple effect of sales of assets after Shell started doing diversification.
Bam, hold on. Let's not go
selling
far.
assets to indigenous operators
hold on.
who does not have experience, who does not have the liquidity, who are portfolio companies. These companies the money was syndicated through a lot of banks, both foreign and in, and these guys are not paying back their loans. So at the end of the day, NNPC typically is like they are the guarantor for all of these loans because they are carrying NNPC's contracts, and because these payments are not remitted to banks, and they are also cheating the system by under-declaring production and all sorts of things, and funding their expensive lifestyles and telling investors, banks that have invested in them to go to hell, going to court to get injunctions so that the banks cannot come after them. Contribute really.
I mean, Bam, I hear you. And I'm sorry I had to mute you. Just hold on. You are going far. The point I am making is this, right? Today, go to the creeks. There are stories today, right, of Nigerian crude oil pipelines being hacked into. We have videos from channels. We have the NNPC. We literally at a situation where the Nigerian Air Force is bombing illegal crude oil bunkering ships. We have Nigerian Navy chasing large oil tankers to Equatorial Guinea. That's what we have right now. So the oil drilling, oil contract is phase 2. Phase 1 we are talking about is that right now as you and I speak, if you go to Niger Delta, there are ships, not tiny ships, huge ocean-going ships, illegally entering Nigeria, taking crude oil without paying and exporting it. Go back to what JP Morgan is saying. JP Morgan is saying that when Nigeria sells crude oil, there are no revenues flowing back to JP Morgan. JP Morgan is the Bank of Nigeria. Go back to the central bank governor's comment. The central bank governor, Emefiele, said that he has not received revenues. This was before the flotation of the Naira. He did not receive any revenues from the sale of crude oil. It's on a tweet. Search for it, you'll find it. So, Bam, your comments are correct. But that's stage 2. Stage 1 is that literally there's a war in Niger Delta. We have gunships.
So where is the dollar going to?
It's been stolen. I'm not hiding mouth now. It's been stolen. Mr.
At least you have to remit for the stolen.
No, you don't. No, come on, guys.
It's taken for free.
No, guys. Tony Elumelu bought an oil field from Shell, and he was on the newspaper saying that he got 5% of what was pumped from A to his terminal. 5%. So who stole the 95%? We've seen the Navy, with the Navy, their helicopter gunship sinking illegal ships in Niger Delta. This translates to fall of revenues. Revenues are going to domiciliary account. There is 20 billion in Nigerian dom accounts, already. 20 billion. It's not owned by the Central Bank of Nigeria. It's sitting in vaults. That's where the money is going to. I saw a video of Tom Polo with a room full of dollars. That's what the dollars is. Labi, you are talking because Babi jumped in. Did you want to just close it out?
Yes, I want to. So, how difficult is it to, address this sense of routine? If you look at the history since Buhari's administration, it's been what has been talked about. So, how difficult is it?
It's not difficult at all.
It's something that can probably, take this country forward.
It's not difficult at all, Labi. The very, very first time we talked about crude oil theft on this space, we said that ships were sailing into Nigeria under the watch of the security services and nothing was being done. People came on this space and were arguing. There was a journalist that came from Europe saying it was not true, that they've not seen any whatever. Till now, we saw the videos from Nigerian TV. An existing boy with pipes. Here, if you go back to that tweet, it's here. A guy from Europe, a journalist came and said it's not true. Two guys from some companies, our oil service companies, came here and were arguing. Olimide, you remember, right? Two guys came here and were arguing with figures that it's not possible. But now we've seen it with our own two eyes. If the Nigerian president says that this should stop, this will stop. Because you have one choke point. The oil must go out through the ships. It can't go out any other way. It must go out through a ship. So, just put a submarine there and sink everything. That is illegal. They say environment. I am of the opinion, if you are illegal, the Air Force should sink the ship. End of story. Why should they sink the ship? We've arrested ships, taking the ships to a Nigerian Navy jetty. So we arrested the ship with the crude oil. We took the ship with the oil to a Nigerian Navy jetty. The ship disappeared. Not my words. The ship disappeared from the Nigerian Navy jetty. Not once, so it didn't happen once. Search on Twitter, on Google. Ships with crude oil will disappear from Nigerian Navy, Nigerian police custody jetty. This is live news. So when you sink the ships, you eliminate the fact that those ships can come to Nigeria, and you start to have a handle on your revenues. That's what's going on, Labi. There's nothing mysterious about it. If you stop this stealing, then revenues of dollars can go into the coffers. Then you can then see revenue start to pay up, and then we get a naira going back up. Any other thing you're doing is wishful thinking. If you don't export crude oil, your dollars can rise. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so, sorry, I don't know if you've handled this before, but I just want you to help me paint like a hypothetical picture right here. What happens if we had three of our refineries working and we don't need to export crude oil? What scenario are we going to have?
The naira becomes
to FX right now.
The naira becomes 10,000 to $1 because you have to export crude oil. That's how you get your dollar revenues in. If you use all the crude oil, then you have no dollar exports. Then your naira becomes worthless. Remember,
what happens if we refine oil?
It doesn't make any difference. When crude oil is priced in dollars, not in naira. The crude oil in the homes, in the land in Niger Delta is not priced in naira. It's just found in Nigeria. Whenever you refine crude oil locally, you are reducing the revenue you should have gotten. In economics, the price of something is the foregone opportunity. So if I have an orange and I have an apple, and the apple costs $10 and the orange costs $5, the cost when I take the orange is the cost of the foregone alternative. If you take crude oil and you refine it and you sell it in naira, what you have lost is the revenues in dollars that you would have gotten. That's why you see Saudi Arabia today.
I think maybe you mistook my question. So I was asking, if we refine, right? And I assume that we pay fines or we pay service charge for refining this oil, like when we export crude oil. So what happens when we refine, like Dangote refinery right now, we refine and then we sell refined oil like out. I'm just a novice in this area, but I'm just curious, like how it works when Dangote refinery, for example, ships out refined oil instead of crude oil.
Well, you get more revenues then, because you have a lot more additives. You get petrochemicals, urea, fertilizer. You get more revenues, but we don't have those refineries working. That's just what I'm saying. So when we get the crude oil, we've always sold raw crude oil. We had the petrochemical plant in Eleme that was sold to a private entity. So the Dangote petrochemical is going to be our first petrochemical. The Kaduna one was a petrochemical plant. It's not working. The one in Port Harcourt NNPC was petrochemical. It's not working. So we have no functional government or Nigerian-owned petrochemical plant in Nigeria. It's just the Dangote that has started. If we had them working...
Sorry to cut you short, just to complete it. So my question right now is, I wanted you to paint me a scenario whereby we have 4 active working refineries in Nigeria. I wanted you to paint me a scenario. What happens to our forex?
It will go up. It will go up because then you are exporting more apart.
You just said it.
You're exporting more additives, right? Look at Dangote. Dangote was fertilizer alone become the number 1 non-oil exporter in Nigeria. That's why we have a positive balance of trade, just exporting urea alone. Just that single factory. It came on air, suddenly our balance of trade went positive just on Dangote urea. So if we had all these guys working, revenues goes up, imports comes down. Simple call.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah, Somto, go ahead. Somto, you got the floor?
Can you touch on the ships thing that you talked about as to something is going ahead when you said the Air Force can sink the ships if they really want to do this? Because really, that's literally, for me,
yeah, it's a hard call. It's a hard call because nobody wants the pollution, right? So what we're saying is that we have illegal ships entering Nigerian waters, and they're very, very fragile waters. These are Niger Delta, lots of marine life there. There's already pollution. So when you sink the ship, pollution goes up. But the problem is this, right? Those ships that come into Nigerian waters are the enemy. They are worse than Boko Haram. Because when they are there, they are taking away our revenues. And it's corruption. They can only come in because Nigerian Navy, Nigerian Army are corrupt. That's what's going on. A ship cannot float into that delta, take oil and float out. So the only way in my mind, if I was advising Tinubu, I would say go and get a specialized team from the US or from Russia or from China, arm them with drones, answering only to you, Tinubu, and then tell NNPC, we can only lift only from this time to this time. Ships can sail in and out to lift crude oil. Then tell those drone guys, any ship that is lifting crude oil, or you see any ship in the Niger Delta, just sink it. Then have a schedule, put it on NTA. On NTA, so we can see the ships, we can see their manifest, we can see what they are carrying and where they are going to. That's the legal ship. Put on NTA, live channel, just put a camera on the creeks. And this is the only approved route that oil carrying ships can leave, enter Nigeria and leave. Any other ship, tell these guys I report only to you, not to your chief of army, to your chief of police. Any other ship you see carrying anything, just sink it where it floats. Just sink it. Don't ask any questions. Just sink the damn thing. When you sink 5, nothing will happen again. Nobody will pay insurance to bring a ship in Nigerian waters. It's a radical, it's not elegant, it's going to cause environmental degradation. But I assure you, the stealing of crude oil in Nigeria will disappear. I assure you. Tundo, you got the floor, sir.
Sorry. I'm sorry, really. I'm sorry, really, that you didn't recognize me. But I needed to make it.
No, Bam, you were there because you spoke earlier. That's why.
Maybe you skipped my turn.
No, Bam, because you have spoken earlier. But go ahead. You have spoken earlier. That's why I just skipped you.
Oh, sorry. You know, okay. So I just want to make a quick point, right? I think there's a part that. So I work in this industry, and I'm familiar with all of these things you're talking about, but there is a part that a lot of Nigerians don't know, right? Our asset ownership and asset management structure, right, makes it very difficult sometimes for the federal government to take some of those decisions we are talking about. Why? Because, so asset operators also are the ones who arrange ship to sell their crude. They only give government their own share after sales because government only gives them allocation every month to sell, right? So you need to understand that the structure is different. And that's why really I wanted to ask you if you know about the Saudi model, which is like an off-taker model. So Saudi model for their oil and gas asset is they have a money manager who actually literally off-takes all of their production and give them liquidity based on future production. Because what the system that we are running now is more in the hands of capitalist asset owners. And because they control a lot of the value and the supply chain up to sales, it is very difficult for government to be able to 100% implement a lot of hard decisions in that sector. Because today, I'll tell you the reason why our productions are low is because a lot of indigenous operators who bought assets from Shell are producing into batch because they feel that the export lines. So after Tony Elumelu complained and all of the other people complained about them providing their large reading, and then at the export terminal they get far lower than what they have produced. In a way to drive the conversation, most of them are now producing into batch in storage, waiting until the NNPC approves an export terminal type situation for them, like they just did for Belema oil. So what you have is a situation where people are no longer trusting the export line and saying, okay, we're not going to produce into the export line because we're not able to meet our financial obligations and pay our debtors because we're not getting value at the terminal. So we're going to produce into batch and ask NNPC to give us export line approval so that we can sell the crude from our PSOs. So those are the issues that are going on in the industry now. So all of these productions, number that you see, are figures from international operators who are dedicated, who are not cutting corners, who are rolling out the volumes based on agreement. But most of the indigenous operators are producing into badges, and that's where the problem really is.
No, but it has. But I don't. If they put into badges, is back to the issue that the security in the Niger Delta cannot stop the illegal actions. That's the reality, that the security in the Niger Delta needs to step up. You can't sail a ship into Iranian or Saudi or even Ghanaian waters and take crude oil. It's only in Nigeria that you can load a ship, sail into Nigeria, take crude oil and sail out. That's the point.
No, but unconfirmed reports put most of those illegal movements on them. Because they already have allocations.
On who?
That's why sometimes when the government checks all the records checks out. But they know that on the indigenous operators.
No,
but there's a limit to what the government can.
But Bam, I think you're going to
using fingers at people.
You're going to the weeds.
Business generally.
Bam, you're getting to the weeds. There are stories of Navy chasing ships to Equatorial Guinea. That's not the international producers. There are stories of Air Force sinking ships. These are live stories. That's not indigenous producers. The point I'm making is this. The situation in Nigeria is that we do not get revenues from the sale of our crude oil. That's the fact right now. Even if what you're saying is correct, it doesn't take away the fact that we are not getting the revenues that should flow to Nigeria from the sale of crude oil. That's the point I'm making. Your comments may be correct, but let's also address the comment that if you are a Nigerian president, you want to ensure that every drop of crude oil is accounted for and recorded in NNPC that flows to your budget. That's the point. And today it's not happening. That's where I want us to, because if we get to the weeds, we'll think, it's some other thing happening. No. No matter what they are barging, they can't be barging the whole 700,000 barrels. And I'm quoting the last Minister of State of Petroleum, Timi Silva. 700,000 barrels a day is lost and shut in because of the issues in our Delta. That's too much. Somto, are you back? Somto is not ready. Let's get Mr. Tudo Bams. Go ahead, sir.
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Carlo, for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. I just want to chime in on the peg versus float
Hey, go for it,
conversation.
bro.
I think you led the show with that, and so I want to say a few things, and then I'll have your take. I'll yield the mic, and then I want to get what your take is on that. So it is obvious that there are times that economies will peg their currency for several reasons. Knowing that there are benefits to pegging. The most recent example I can give for that will be China. I think they ended their last peg in 2010, especially against the US dollar and mostly other basket of currencies. So to that effect, I believe that sometimes when we have these conversations, we tend to focus more on consumers. We talk about the cost of goods. We talk about purchasing things offshore, paying for schools and things like that. But how about, say, exporters? Business people that are exporting things, not just the government now, from Nigeria. So it does provide an opportunity for them to be competitive. One. And also, when you have the situation that we had in Nigeria prior to President Bola Tinubu coming on, you have two foreign currency exchange regimes where you have, the central bank guaranteeing one, and then you have the parallel market on the other hand. Also, that provides some kind of arbitrage opportunities for those who trade in that world, not just for the high rollers, but just for ordinary people. So those are just two basic examples I can give, and I would like your take on that. And also, lastly, I want to mention that historically, when countries tend to peg their currencies, it does help their local economy as well. It's some sort of a price control measure. I don't know if you could call that quantitative tightening of some sort that helps them, gain control of the local economy, even if it's on an interim basis. So I guess my question before I yield the mic to you will be, if there was a way, and this is a big hypothetical, if there was a way we could shore up our currency reserve, can we have a situation where it's advantageous for Nigeria to actually periodically maybe peg our currency, as opposed to just making an argument completely against pegging the currency?
Okay, so just a quick one, right? Yeah, just a quick one, right? So I'm not against or for or pegging or devaluing. Let me just explain what we're saying, right? When you have a currency, you have the dollar is the reference currency. So if I want to import cars from Japan, I don't go Nigeria, I don't go Naira to yen. I go Naira to dollar to yen. The dollar is always the reference currency. So when countries peg, when you hear peg, countries simply say, to make things easier, to make our economy more predictable, we will take our local currency and we peg it to something. You could peg to gold, you can peg to crude oil, or you can peg to dollar. If you peg to dollar, like most of the oil exporters do, you see the oil guys in the Middle East, they all peg their currency to the dollar. You're essentially saying if you want to buy dollar or use reals, it's the same as a dollar. So no wahala, just you can trade and the value is always going to be the US dollar. That's what Nigeria did, right? Nigeria is saying, listen, you can plan your economy because we're going to peg our Naira to the dollar. So it makes planning easier. Even if inflation is 20 or 5, it doesn't matter. The dollar is pegged to a Naira, so it's make planning easier. But when you say you have a peg, if you look at your currency, in the past, the currency would say you can take this paper, because the paper you have is not money, it represents savings in the central bank. It says you can take this paper to the central bank and the central bank will give you gold. That's what the paper would usually have said. Now that paper doesn't say that anymore. The Naira will simply say that it is pegged. So if you take your Naira to the foreign exchange market, the central bank is saying we will give you 468, which was the peg, which meant the central bank has got dollars in reserve to execute that exchange. So you bring your 1 Naira, you bring your 468 Naira, I give you $1. That's what that peg was meant. The airlines took their 468 Naira to the central bank and could not get dollar, which means that peg was not working anymore because the central bank did not have sufficient dollars. We did not know this till this report came out that our reserves are should we say either 30 billion or 20 billion. China pegs its currency, but China has $3 trillion in reserves. 3 trillion. So you can't harass them because they have 3 trillion. Remember back in the days of George Soros and the British pound and the European monetary system, what happened? The UK pegged their currency, and George Soros went and bet against the British pound, and the British pound eventually capitulated, and George Soros was reported to have made £1 billion in profit. So it's not the peg that is the problem. It's the fact that if you want to do a peg, it means you have reserves. I give this example. Dangote, let's say I peg my reserves to Dangote. Dangote buys private jet. I have no reserves to buy private jet. Would I now go and borrow to buy private jet, which is what Nigeria did? Nigeria pegged its currency to the dollar. But when the dollar was getting stronger, the Naira should have been devalued to maintain the peg. Rather, we kept the peg at the 468. So what happened? Of course, we had to go borrow in dollars. That's why you see the CBN borrowing from JP Morgan and Chase to maintain that peg, to pay the airlines, to pay everyone else. The issue is not the peg. Can you afford the peg is the issue. The answer for Nigeria, we cannot afford it. China can. So that's why they can peg. Does that make sense, sir?
Yeah, it most certainly does. I guess what I take from, I actually thought that you were completely opposed to the idea of pegging the currency, but now I have a better understanding of the position. But then what I also take away from what you just said is that whatever the benefits that floating the currency presents, like I mentioned, the arbitrage situation, because you can just have somebody buying low and selling high,
True.
Operating within two regimes, go to the CBN and then turn around and go to the parallel market. But either way, whatever benefits that it in itself presents, it doesn't really offset the problems or the challenges we're facing with the pegging situation.
And again, I get you. And again, don't forget that people always think that there's an absolute theory in economics. The US dollar is not pegged. The US dollar floats, but the central bank of the US intervenes in the US market. Central banks can intervene in an open market by buying and selling currencies. So the European Central Bank can intervene even though the market is not regulated or not pegged. That's the problem. If you don't have reserves, you really can't talk. But imagine today I want to bet against the Chinese yuan. How much do I have to borrow to bet against the Chinese yuan when the Central Bank of China has 3 trillion? But if you have, right now, all the speculators, I assure you, the speculators saw that Nigeria had 20 billion. They saw this report before you and I did. And that was why you saw this massive selling of Naira. That's what's been going on. That this report, this 20 billion you are seeing, was people knew it. I knew it. I didn't talk because if I talk, you say, "Where's your proof?" You can't produce proof. It was an open secret that Nigeria could not pay. You don't even have to have a straight secret line. Nigeria couldn't pay airlines. If Nigeria can't pay airlines, you know that the foreign reserve position is weak. Last week, Olumide, we're not talking about it last week, when we said that I did not trying to stretch the market and said no, they don't have money. We said it on this same space last week. So if you know that Nigeria has no money to do a peg, what do? You sell the Naira and you buy dollar and you wait. 8 years, the best investment in Nigeria was buying dollar and waiting. The best investment, better than selling crude oil, buy dollar and wait. Right now, there's a flux. The CBN can break many people's legs in the next 1 week if it just sells $1 billion. People's leg will break, but it doesn't solve the problem. It will make people lose money for the next maybe 2 months. They will be a bit more careful. But it doesn't solve the problem. The problem is that there's a lack of supply. Somehow, the owners of the forex in Nigeria don't want to bring forex into Nigeria. The diaspora, they don't want to bring money in. I don't know why. And I believe it may be because they're not seeing the policies of the president, or they're not comfortable with the president's administration. But there's something going on that Nigerians, maybe because they are firing many guys that work in the IT space back here in America, And in America, most of Nigerians maybe are working at IT space or are traders. Or maybe it's because the traders in Japan and China that do this auto container are not making enough money to sell containers because consumption has fallen. But what we know is that the flows of dollars to the central bank has fallen, but the P2P is still active. What does that tell you? That Nigerians don't trust Central Bank of Nigeria. They don't trust the government. They prefer to do P2P than the Central Bank of Nigeria. So what would a smart policyholder do? You go to P2P and you do agreement. What are Nigerians doing? I saw one silly headline. Somebody was saying that you should go and ban Binance or P2P market so our money will flow to Central Bank. Can you imagine? So if you ban Binance, then you think the Nigerian that you just banned them will now take their money to Central Bank. Are you... Oh my, this is Twitter, so I don't make the further banners. But you can't say that. You can't even say that. Right? And that's the problem.
Sorry.
Can I add to this conversation?
Please go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to yield the mic. Well, thanks, Carlo, for your take. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity.
You're welcome, sir. Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
Can I just add to this conversation?
Please go ahead.
What happened in China?
What happened in China?
Yeah, the China peg and Nigerian peg story.
You want to talk or you want to talk more? Are you asking?
I just want to add to it.
Go for it.
Perspective.
Please go for it.
Yeah, so I also think that the unique thing between China peg and Nigerian peg is they're actually in reverse direction. China is pegging a currency and actually devaluing a currency.
True.
So the issue has always been that China devalues a currency to boost our exports.
True.
So by China pegging the currency as a lower value, that was always for increasing their forex reserves. In Nigeria's case, we are pegging our currency and making it look stronger. In that case, we have to deplete our forex reserves to defend that peg.
True.
In China's case, they actually accrue forex reserves because they've actually devalued their currency. So,
True.
for instance, we can just say now, CBN can say now that dollar is 2,000 naira to a dollar, right? If you want to pay for it, pay for it. Our forex reserve would increase, right? Our forex reserve will increase. We won't even have black markets anymore.
True.
Because if I am an investor that wants to bring dollars into Nigeria, I'd rather give it to the central bank than go to the black market at 900. Or I get to the central bank and get 2,000 naira for each dollar, and the central bank forex reserve would actually increase. So that's a key difference between China and Nigeria. And understand that difference just tells you that what we're doing, one, was unsustainable. We don't have the money to do it, and it was actually counterproductive to export industry.
Man,
right? So,
guy, you are dropping. What you're saying is so important. I want people to understand what you're saying. Let's just understand. What you're saying is so important. You see, when I tell people this, there is no developed nation on earth, and Google me and fact check me, that wants a strong currency. I say this, people will say, Naira should be strong. We want a strong Naira. No nation wants a strong currency. They don't want it to fall, but they don't want a strong currency. Why? Because your country is strong, it kills your exports. China's money comes from export. So like what Adeswaga is saying, they are wanting a weak yuan. So they are buying a lot of US treasuries to weaken the yen. That's their advantage. Let me put it this way. If you have a weak currency, it gives you an advantage. If you go today and you devalue your currency just to export, the US government would ban you, label you a currency manipulator, and ban you to show you how bad a strong currency is. So like he's saying, China is doing the opposite. They are pegging their currency to keep it weak, not to make it go strong, to keep it weak. But Nigeria's case, look at what's happening in Nigeria. We print Naira, that Naira goes to buy more dollars. Then we increase the MPR on the printed Naira to kill SMEs, causing exports to become cheaper than local production. It's all over the place. The same CBN is fighting inflation and creating inflation. The same CBN. Please continue. And if I just want to make sure your point was well appreciated.
Thanks, Carlo. I think that's what I have to say about that.
Excellent point.
Can I just add to that quickly, because that's very, very, very powerful what you just said. I don't know who spoke, but that's literally what is happening. But I just wanted to talk on the U.S. Treasury thing from China, because you literally answered my question, which was before the previous speaker spoke, which was you said you already knew about this. Most economists already foresaw this and had known, but they didn't want to talk. I want to show Carl where we can plead that you should keep talking, because there's a lot of people who really do not understand how to articulate this down to the level that you, Olumide, and the rest do. So please, when you know that the CBN is insolvent, please say it.
But we said it. I've said it open on Twitter. I said, keep your dollars close. I can't say it directly because I cannot give you advice on social media. So I said, keep your dollars close. And many times I've told Nigerians, that if you are not spending that naira in 3 to 6 months, hold dollar. I've said it many times on Twitter. I just can't give you advice because of my licensing, but I've said it over and over. Keep your dollars close. If you're not spending naira for 3 to 6 months, don't hold naira. Said it over and over. You have to. If you listen to this space, Olumide will come and say, "Oh, we're not giving advice," but we say it here. People will argue. People will drop some things here. You will pick up what's going on. Remember that Nigerians don't spend dollar. Nigerians spend naira. The problem with Nigeria is that the basic thing that we spend money on, which is food, the bulk of it is imported. That's the problem with Nigeria. It's not, our rent is paid in naira, our school fees are paid in naira, fuel is paid in naira, but food, when you see a poor economy, how do you know a poor economy from a rich economy? It's not the amount of cars or infrastructure, it's how much the society spends on food. The average American spends far less on food than the average Nigerian. The average Nigerian spends 68% of his income on food. Why? Because it's imported. If we produce all our food locally, we wouldn't really have a problem with inflation or even with the dollar. Because you will just be enough. You pay your food in naira, you rent your house in naira, you go to school in naira, you go to hospital in naira. But right now, if you are really, really ill in Nigeria, you have to go abroad. If you really want to give your kids a good education, you have to go abroad. If you want to eat really, really good food, you have to go abroad and import food. So the bulk of what modern society operates on, if you want to drive your car, you have to go abroad. In Nigeria, you have to go abroad and bring the fuel to drive your car in Nigeria. So that's the problem with Nigeria, that we've turned the economy into when people say we're import dependent, we're not. We export more than we import. But we depend, the breakfast table of a Nigerian is imported. The lunch table, dinner table is imported. I grew up eating only imported food in Nigeria because it was Lebanese. It didn't occur to me. But the society has changed. We're no longer rich like that, right? So we have to change. But right now, we're back to where we started from. Imported rice. Even tomato is imported right now. Tomato is imported. Vegetable oil is imported. Chicken is imported. Even Gary, there's imported Gary, guys. Gary, there's imported Gary. Water, we import sparkling water. What the F are we imported sparkling water for? Why do we need sparkling water? I'm not kidding. I have a picture on my phone. You go to shops in Abuja, there's imported water. Why are there imported water in Abuja? Because the Abuja people that have money will buy it. There's no imported water in my village because they won't buy it. And that's the problem. Those consumption level from the guys that get quote-unquote token alerts, they are the ones spending all this money on nonsense.
Yeah. So sorry, so that I just put the question and then you just go ahead, okay? I want you to just elaborate, since you already touched on it, but I want you to really elaborate in as much as you have really, from your point of view, articulated that the oil theft is a significant portion of the issue. I want you to really elaborate on the credit expansion of the Nigerian Naira and how much of, in terms of comparison of an issue, would you put it when you talk about the credit, the oil theft, right? And the reason I ask this is because of such laughable comments about the Binance B2B thing that came out from another media, right? Because in my view, if we really are saying Binance is the determining factor of the Nigerian Naira, then Binance is, in my own point of view, mispricing the Naira, because they should really tell us that the Naira is like 5,000 per Naira, right? Or per dollar, right? So I just wanted you to speak on that and whether or not the market has priced in the inflated Nigerian Naira. So yeah,
that's a difficult question. That's difficult. The price of something takes into effect the current status and the future status. Just like inflation. If I think the price of something's going to go up, the price goes up. If I think the price of something is going to come down, the price comes down. If you ask any Nigerian on the street today if they think price of Gary will go up or down in the next 3 months, their answer will be it's going to go up. And that's the problem in Nigeria. Because we think the price of goods are going to go up, we react that way and then we spend because we want to avoid being caught up in a rising market. So if you go to your question now, we have the price of dollar. It's gone up from 700, right, to almost 900. Most of the folks that today are buying dollar don't need dollar. Most of the folks today that are just buying dollar don't need it. Why are they buying it? Because they want to hedge their naira from losing value due to inflation. So you see guys buying $100 just to keep. They don't need to import anything, because why do you need dollar? You get dollar because you want to import. But if you don't want to import, why are you holding? It's a piece of paper. It doesn't even pay you interest. So Nigerians are going to the bank, taking away their naira from the bank vault that are earning them interest of say 10%, converting it to a paper and holding that paper in their hand. Why are they doing it? Because they believe that the rate of inflation is going to be more than the rate of interest that they are earning from keeping to the bank. And they've been proven right, because the rate of inflation today is 22% and the rate of interest is 10%. So the average Nigerian has been proven right. They are proven right to hold that paper than to keep it in the bank. So if you're a policymaker, how do you solve this? There are two ways. You can say, well, I'm going to increase the interest rate, right? So that Nigerians will be forced to keep the money in the bank, because if you take it to 25%, the Nigerians would know that if I keep money in the bank for 25%, I don't need to buy dollar, because my money in the bank will pay me more than inflation. But once you do that, you kill the economy, because the SMEs will die. They can't borrow at 25. The other way you want to do it is to reduce the inflation rate. You say, okay, we're going to drop the inflation rate to below 10%, which means if I keep money in the bank, I know even at my 10%, it's higher than inflation. Hence, Nigerians don't need to take naira from the bank to buy dollar. If you do that, then you are on something. How do you reduce inflation rate in Nigeria? You ask yourself, what is causing the inflation in Nigeria? Food. We're back to this Gary thing again. It's food. Food is 51% of the consumer price index in Nigeria, which means if you reduce the price of food by 10%, you've given everybody in Nigeria a 10% inflation respite. So we should focus like a laser on that food inflation to reduce the price of food, even if it means allowing for 90 days unbridled importation of food into the country to drop the price of food. Yes, farmers in Nigeria will lose business. Yes, you will import more, but there are no straight answers to the economics. You will replace high inflation with high importation, but at least you have brought down inflation to a level that will allow the Nigerian to keep money in naira. As long as people are feeling that the naira will go down, it will keep on going down. So that's where we are right now. It's a psychology thing. It's more of a psychology than economics. The real naira is not more than 700.
So sorry to really interrupt. I hear that, but sometimes from people, from other economists who do say it, it seems like they are not factoring the fact, yes, psychology is important, but they are not factoring the fact that there literally is more naira out there than there should be. Right, or is that a wrong presupposition?
There is more naira that has been printed. That is true, and that drives inflation. We've printed 23 trillion. That has driven inflation. But inflation is not just caused by the printing of money alone. The US has been printing money even in the past. Remember under Trump, they were printing money before Trump got there. What was the inflation rate in the US? 2%. It didn't rise. Why didn't it rise? Productivity. Because the economy is soaking up the money. It's soaking it up. There's productivity gains. Hence, all that money is going to new Microsoft, new Google. There is no productivity in Nigeria. You see guys in elevators as elevator operators. That's just a sign of low labor productivity. I tell you this, if you give everybody in Nigeria 1 million naira cash, everybody in Nigeria 1 million naira cash, what will they do with it? They will start to buy things they could never afford. A new TV, a new fridge, a new air conditioner. So if there was productivity, if you had companies that had fridges, air conditioners in their warehouses, there will be no inflation, because the 1 million naira cash will go from cash to assets, to buy assets. The problem in Nigeria is that there is no air conditioners, there are no fridges, there are no TVs that those guys can buy. So all that cash is just swirled down the system with velocity, and that's what's causing the inflation. It's not the money per se in your hand that is causing inflation. It's that money is just sitting in your hand, just going, today you buy land at 100 naira, tomorrow that same land is 200 naira, because there's nowhere else for that money to go. You can't start a business with that money you have in your hand. If you take your 10 million naira and start a business, they will tax you for signage, they will tax you for TV license. So the money is not invested. If the money was printed and invested to increase the productivity, you wouldn't see the inflation you're seeing. So let's go someone else, sir. Let's get to Mr. Morales. Did I get it right? Mr. Morales. How are you going? How are you doing, sir?
Hi, good evening.
Good evening, Morales.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'm thinking of driving the conversation in a different direction. So I'm thinking of the dollar. I want to talk about the dollar thing. So from my understanding of finance, I know like Nigeria. So the way we kind of get dollars as a country, we have, and I know of like four main streams. That's the revenue from foreign sales, basically oil and the likes. Then we have the FDIs, the FPIs, and then we also have remittances. So I think most of our focus has always been on like the revenue aspect of things. And when we talk about revenue, we're talking about oil revenue. I mean, oil makes about 80% of Nigeria's revenue as at 2020, I guess. So first of all, I think Nigeria needs diversification. I mean, we need to be able to diversify from majority of our revenues coming in through oil. Another thing, we need to find a way to increase our FDIs and FPIs. Of course, people are not actually attracted to the country. I mean, investors are not really willing to invest in the country because the policies they make, the economic conditions are not really great. So if I were also an external investor, I wouldn't invest in Nigeria despite the market. I mean, there's an available market in Nigeria for investors, but the economy is not really attractive. So in terms of remittances, so I think another way we get dollar is remittances, but money has not been forthcoming like that due to the global economic downturn. I mean, if you check the data, the amount that has been remitted to Nigeria has been relatively flat. It was growing at some points, but then due to the global economic downturn, people are not remitting as much as, and I'm talking about remittance, I'm talking about people sending money from abroad to their relatives in Nigeria and the country. So if we can actually get these things flowing, I mean, if we can increase our revenue, diversify from oil production basically, because I mean, oil is like a major thing in Nigeria. If anything affects oil, it affects Nigeria's revenue directly. And that's like one of the challenges we're facing. Remittances are not coming in, FDIs are not coming in, FPIs are not coming in. So we need to actually focus on the dollar we get from sale of oil. So how do we do this? I think Nigeria needs to improve on production, basically production and productivity, as you said. So if we increase our productivity, we are able to sell more, we're able to export more. And also, you mentioned something about inflation. So I'm of the opinion that Nigeria's inflation is cost and supply push inflation. So most of our inflation has not really been about the printing of naira and the likes like that. So there's like a major insecurity in the country which has stifled production and productivity. Our agricultural sector is stagnant because of the insecurity in our agricultural areas like the northern sides and then the southern belt of Nigeria. So if there's insecurity in those areas, we can actually produce agriculturally, and agriculture contributes to majority of our GDP. So if that area is not really coming up, I don't think we can really do much about that. So with that being said, I just think we're not really focusing on the right things. We're focusing on oil, focusing on how to get dollar. I think Nigeria in particular needs to work on the economy itself. First of all, make attractive economic policies, fix security issues. If we fix security issues, productivity can increase in the country and the likes like that. So that's just what I have to say. I just think the main thing is not about the whole thing, and then the dollar is not the problem. Even as of last week, I got some information that CBN did some injection about maybe $50 or $20 million into the economy, but it still did not work anything because the backlog of dollar demand in Nigeria is crazy high. Nigeria needs about $5 billion of injection at least to even find a way to crash this current exchange rate. So I think our focus has been majorly maybe on the wrong things. We need to find a way to increase productivity in the country, sell more, get more dollars, and not necessarily the hurting, diversify away entirely from the hurting.
And what's the biggest, productivity gain that Nigeria can do immediately? It's going to just be power. Our power is 30% of the cost of the SMEs and most factories in Nigeria. Power. So imagine if we just focus on power and we say we're going to fix power. Even in Lagos. Lagos is the manufacturing hub in Nigeria. If you fix power in Lagos, then you sort of start to fix this whole idea of productivity. Because once productivity is going up, then prices start to fall. All these things we can't afford in Nigeria, all these sachets we are seeing is because there is no consumption happening in Nigeria. The Nigerian Bureau of Statistics said as of 2022, household consumption was negative. I think it's -4. Negative. So Nigerians are not spending and consuming. That's the problem. So you want to go in and make Nigerians spend. After we had the attacks on 9/11, what did the US president say? Go out and shop. He didn't say buy a new missile, or he said go out and shop. Why? Because consumption is 60% of the US economy. Consumption is 60% of the Nigerian economy. So if Nigerians are no longer consuming because goods are too expensive, and goods are too expensive because power alone is 30% of the cost of goods, then it makes sense to fix power. Then goods fall, then probably your middle class can start to afford it. You see in Nigeria, you see a banker. Let me give you that. You see a bank. We had a space here as well. You see a banker earning ₦1 million a month. He's a single guy. ₦1 million a month. That guy can't afford to buy a house in Nigeria or in Lagos, Port Harcourt, or Abuja. He can't afford to buy a house in Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja. Earning $1 million in Nigeria, to earn $1 million a month makes you, in New York, you'd be maybe at the 1% if you converted it in proportion. A young man, not married, no liabilities, earns $1 million a month. He can't buy a house in Lagos. Then what are we talking about? What are we talking about? So as long as goods are too expensive, we can't buy new shoes. Kids, when I used to go to school,
the middle class
it's gone.
Dead.
Bata Cortina. When we're going to school, you go to Bata and you buy your Bata Cortina brand new, no questions asked. You buy your brand new Bata Cortina. You buy brand new white socks. You buy brand new knapsack. You buy brand new books. You buy brand new everything. That is consumption for the household. So the guys that sell Bata know that every beginning of year they are going to sell out. So they import leather, they import gum, they borrow money from the bank, they hire people. That's the economy. Little wheels turning together to make a big wheel turn. So it's this is the core of the problem in Nigeria. Poor people, poor wages, high inflation, high insecurity. So if you fix power, you sort of fix that whole productivity. Then remittances, we're still doing social remittances, right? So Emeka is sending money to Mama Emeka. But if you tell Emeka, in America, Emeka is getting 1% if you put money in a savings account. If you tell Emeka that we can give you 5% APR if you invest in Nigeria and we'll pay your taxes, we'll do everything for you. No, just put it in the bank and we'll get the money from you. Emeka will do it. They will take that money and we give it to Nigerian importers to import goods so we can have a way to finance imports through the diaspora. But we're not thinking. We're going after oil sales. Oil. Oil is less than 15% of our GDP. But everything here is oil. So we have to have guys that can think.
Can I add a comment here, please?
Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I've been thinking about this Nigeria crisis situations, and I think that we all agree that the key thing to changing our fortunes is improving productivity. But there are a few things that we have to do in the immediate terms to basically turn around this situation. First of all, unless we do the right things, there's really no reason why the Naira should be falling beyond $900 right now on the black market. And I'll give you a few reasons. One, the black market is an extremely inefficient and expensive market. I always believe that the true value of Naira at any point is what is on the official rate, is between the official rate and the black market. But like Carlos said, expectations and fears keep pushing those things ahead and pushing the black market upward. But the truth is that the black market is actually very inefficient. It's very expensive. If you want to buy $1 billion on the black market, you have to talk to multiple agents, and each agent is going to add some transaction cost to it. That shows you how inefficient the black market is. What the government should be doing, what the CBN should be doing, is actually not just trying to devalue, it's actually creating a single exchange market. We don't need a black market. There's no reason why I cannot send my dollars on the IE window. There's no reason why anybody should be prohibited from buying on the IE window. If everybody can buy on the IE window in a single exchange, then the black market will cease to exist. What the CBN will be eventually doing then is that they're able to monitor the total volume of forex in transactions, and that will really help things. That's the first thing. But right now, they said that +1 items are banned, so that always creates a market for the black market. Remove those bans. We can always increase tariff duties, custom duties on those +1 items, right? So that even if they buy on the IE window, they're going to import, say, rice, whatever it's banned, then just charge them 40%, 50%. Somebody wants to import water, charge them 100%. We don't ban you from importing, but just pay the right charges for it. That's the first thing. The second thing I also think is that there's really no need for us to have physical banknotes of forex in Nigeria. If we are able to force to get everything to the IE window, people should be able to do the transactions in online, in digital transactions. There is really no need for you to have cash notes of forex in Nigeria, because we all know that the legal tender for Nigeria is Naira. So there's really no need to have cash. I think that's the first thing that we need to do. The second thing I think, which is probably most important and probably easier to do, is if we look at what the CBN has been doing consistently for the past 8 years, is they've been increasing money supply. As a matter of fact, between when Tinubu came in, maybe between May to July, we've increased our money supply by 9%. And all of a sudden, we are surprised that we've had devaluation, maybe about 10% or 20% more in the same window. We just need to stop increasing money supply. Don't increase the amount of Naira in the system. Forget about inflation. Just don't increase it. Just keep that number stagnant. Fire those people that are in that team. Just shut it down. If we have 2 trillion Naira in Naira today, it should be 2 trillion Naira for the next 6 months.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate. When you say this increasing money supply, they're just borrowing. That's what you're saying. They're just borrowing. How will they get money if they don't borrow? There's no money in this.
You're right. So when you say that, so the reason why the CBN has been increasing money supply is because they're trying to fund government transactions.
Yeah.
Right? So the government itself, they need to cut their cost.
Okay.
And they already have done the right things. For instance, they don't have to pay for subsidy anymore. Okay, so what are you borrowing for? You don't have to pay for subsidy anymore. Other money for subsidy should come into the government revenue. Whatever cannot work in that system, then the government should not be paying it. There's really no reason why they should be funding travels or extra codes for civil servants or whatever it is. Like, that is all they need to do. Whatever you cannot fund from saving money from your subsidy removal today, then don't just do it again.
So essentially,
second thing
no, we have to move on.
The currency significantly.
So
for every dollar they're getting, they're making a lot more Naira. So exactly what are you still trying to borrow money for again?
I got you. So again, the point is this, right? When you say we should have a single market, totally agree. Lots of folks are saying it on Twitter. Between the only real price for dollars in Nigeria is the black market. It's not the I&E window. It's only the black market that is the real price, because that's the market that has a willing buyer and a willing seller. The I&E has 44 items banned. So to your point, if everything is on one single market and remittances go to one single market and I go to that market, fair enough. You shouldn't stop anybody. If I want to import sparkling water and I can pay 40 Naira, let me import my sparkling water. And when you say people shouldn't have dollar cash, don't restrict people. These are the things that people don't like, Don't restrict people what to do with their money. If I want physical dollar cash, let me have it. If I want to take dollar cash to pay for my subscriptions, let me have it. But price me appropriately, right? So that way, I know what the cost is to me. If I can't afford the cost, I leave it and go away. So I totally agree on those 2 points. We have to stop America won't stop. If you go online today, you can buy dollars and yen. America is not asking you what to do with your dollars and yen. If you can afford it, buy it. If you can't afford it, leave it alone for people that can afford it. It's that simple. Let's get first First Light. Go ahead, sir. First Light.
Hi, Mr. K.
How you
Mr.
doing?
K, how are you?
I'm very well, sir. Thank you so much.
How's everybody?
We're doing good. We're doing good.
Good. Listen, I just think that another thing we need to work on in Nigeria is the drive. I see everybody gets emotional when it comes to what happens to Naira. The first discussion is everybody go gaga. That Naira is now 900 to 1 and blah, blah, blah. Let me give you an example. As I'm speaking with you, I'm in the SA. And in the hotel where I lodged, I was trying to pay with dollars. Kalu, I'm sure you know the guest is yours. You know what I'm saying. They didn't take dollar from me. Do you know why?
Why?
Which in Nigeria, the moment you enter any hotel, you give them dollar. Everybody wants to listen to you. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
I gave them dollar. The lady said, no, we can't take dollars. And I asked why. She said at the end of the day, she's going to be at the losing side because when she take that dollar back to the bank to get run, they're going to charge her about 1.5% of that amount, whichever amount she's going to change. So at the end of the day, $1,000 rand room, she's going to end up getting about 850. She said, of what reason would she do that? She said she's not interested. I should find a way to change the money and pay her in rand. So it means that they've gotten to a certain point. I don't think you will ask an average South African what is the exchange rate. He's not interested. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we need to change. First, we need to do a serious orientation with Nigeria. And secondly, government needs to start doing something. You know that thing you said when you said that you earn #1 million and you cannot afford a house in Nigeria? Until Nigerian government wakes up and liberalize that housing sector. When I say liberalization, Mr. Kalu, it's been 2 years I applied for federal mortgage loan. Listen to this. It got approved last year, February. I have not gotten disbursement up till as I'm speaking with you, 15 million naira. Guess what? With this inflation, with this all these changes in everything, cement has gone up. The guy who wants to sell me the house is already telling me that my 15 million naira is dead on arrival. Right? But imagine that if that sector is liberalized, allow the commercial banks, like it's done in other developed world, that single digit rate on housing. For instance, I got a job. I'm earning 500,000 naira. A bank approached. I want a 2-bedroom apartment that is about 20 million naira. And I'm going to pay for 10, 15 years. Of course, the moment I have a house, I'm tied to them. The deduction is going on every month. I won't put myself on the necessary pressure to try to even seek a kind of gratitude to steal because I need to buy a house. Because these are things that first destroy the middle class because you can afford it. And then you want to do everything. You take advantage of people. They do all manner of things just to raise that money. And that's why I also say that government need to double down on housing first and on transportation. These two aspects. I mean, Kalu, I speak on this your platform very, very well. Just imagine that this gas problem, when the subsidy thing was taken off, I was expecting that federal government would say that we need about 10 million buses. Those 10 million buses, all the companies that are producing car in Nigeria, produce me 10 million buses directly to me. I will pay you. But the production had to be in Nigeria. Do you know what 10 million, if you want 10 million buses in Nigeria, do you know how many people that is going to employ? It means that it will drag a lot of people out of, for this CMG thing we're trying to introduce. So if that happened in transportation, it means that less people will drive their car on the road. Let's say we start with 1 million a year. 1 million a year, it means that a lot of people are going to get job. Because I was listening to Alex Oti the other day. He said he ordered for car from Innocent. Because Innocent is still assembling car with orthodox way. He's still tightening with hand and leg. People still use hand to tie cars. And I'm sure Nord does the same thing. When in others' factory, here in South Africa, The biggest factory of Ford is here. They can tell you that they are turning out a car about 20 or 1,000, 2,000 vehicles in 1 month. So if government need to double down on that, buy robotic machines for those companies as is kind of investment into their businesses to open up, to allow them to produce in mass, right? It's only government that can show that this thing. Any company who is in Nigeria, who is a local manufacturer, buy those equipment that he needs for him. Don't give them the money, because when you give them the money, just like you say, if you give me $1 million, with $1 million, I just need to go down the road zone 4. $1 million give me a 900 million naira.
I got
if you
you.
give me 10 million naira,
I hear you.
Yes.
I think the thing about the dollar, when you say South Africa, I mean, we've said it before here. Nigerians don't spend dollar. Nigerians spend naira. So there's a reason why they are going to the dollar is for inflation, to hedge their naira. What's the inflation rate in South Africa? Do you know?
The inflation rate is 5.5.
Yeah, so if I have 5.5, I'm not too worried. I mean, it's bad, but I'm not too worried about it, right? Even if I get from the bank 2%, okay, I'm losing 3%, but in Nigeria it's 22%, double digit.
No, but Mr. Kalu, what I'm saying is, whether inflation is 22, I'm talking of the idea, the concept of Nigeria. When you talk economic, the first thing they throw at you as their yardstick of economic is good is the fact that Naira is this X2.
I get you.
And meanwhile, in South Korea, what is the South Korean dollar to it? What is the value of South Korean currency to $1? Or even Japan?
But what I'm trying to explain is that Nigerians today are buying dollars because the Naira does not hold value. The South Korean currency is 21,000 to $1, but it holds value. That's the point I'm making. What's the inflation in South Korea?
Because they produce.
That's
right?
So we're saying this. I'm not debating. I'm agreeing with you. I'm just explaining why Nigerians want to hold dollar. If I hold ₦1, if I hold $1 million naira, and inflation is 20%, then I'm not really holding anything, right? But if I hold R1 million and inflation is 5%, I can live with that. That's the point I'm making. So you have to address why Nigerians don't want to hold naira. If you take away the inflation, then probably you get more folks. That's where I'm going to with that. All right, thanks, man.
But at the end of the day, like I said, the transportation and the housing sector, it's something that if government really double down on those things, I see those things turning around Nigerian economy, because by that, you're going to tie down the naira, like we are saying, and we're going to tie down people will not drive more of their vehicle. They will use more of those buses. It will go into production. It's easier to do logistics of our manufacture, of our agricultural thing from the rural area to the city center without paying through your nose. That's just what I think. Thank you very much. I yield for now.
You're welcome. The farmer man, how you doing, sir? I'm calling you farmer man now. I saw you got married, so that means you're now a man. It's a farmer man. Go ahead, sir. Congratulations, sir.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Carlo. It's always a pleasure being on your platform most time, because I always learn a lot. And as I've always said, I'm not an economist, or not to have any background when it comes to finances. But sometimes I wonder if basic, let me even use common sense, works in Nigeria. Like I've always been saying, why? Let me even say, the least person in the society is much more interested is how much is dollar. And I kept on saying, the problem is this, and you have also said a lot of things on why people are much more interested. For me, I don't even care how much dollar is today, but it hits me badly whenever I want to buy some certain things I need for production. And I felt we have no interest in this dollar of a thing when government starts even borrowing money, not just to spend or to go for party, but for production. The moment we start producing a lot of things we need ourselves. And I normally say this. See, either we like it or not, the bedrock for any nation and sustainability, for let me even say for a poor nation like Nigeria, is when we take our agriculture serious. And my journey in egg business just opened my eyes to a lot of things that you have also mentioned here. That Nigerians are, let me say, we are a poor nation. And there is something working with us psychologically, because I noticed one thing. The moment poultry farmers are just recovering from the, should I call it Naira substitution or something, and the whole business was just getting bad. Suddenly, we had about subsidy removal and everything. The purchasing power and everything got low. Now that the students are on break, nobody is even buying eggs. So my this thing now come to life. Oh, now students eat eggs because they are going to school and they will have their colleagues eating eggs. But now that they are at home, you don't have to eat eggs alone. But for somebody that has the money, that has everything, they will continue to eat, because I think eggs should just be like a basic thing a child should get used to as a child. So for me, we need to push all our energy on production and reduce the amount of money we spend on things that are not necessary. And somebody was even talking about borrowing. See, the issue of crude oil and everything is not going anywhere in Nigeria, because those who are benefiting the most are doing little or no work. And it is just for them to, people just to, let me say, take the crude oil, the government gets dollar in return, and in one way or the other, they come with everything and they share among themselves. But that cannot work in areas of production, because it is whatever you produce. And the moment you misfire, you are failing immediately.
Yeah, I hear you.
Know where any money is coming from.
I hear you. I think the issue again is that, I see, I on Twitter, I follow you and I see where you are supplying eggs. You are supplying eggs with a truck, you are putting stuff. It's one thing that struck me, very manual. I don't know where you're supplying to. I compare that to how eggs are transported, say, abroad to markets. And it just strikes me the level of, everything that just seems to be this productivity gap we have in Nigeria. Productivity gap, that to me is the bigger problem. Not just the production, but that the roads are not good. It costs you a lot to deliver your eggs from your farm to the consumers. This is where, to me, I think is the bigger problem than even the production. If you produce 1 million eggs, what do you do?
Providing the basic social amenities that we even, I lose a lot of money just taking eggs from Kwara State to Lagos State. It becomes worse when it is going to the deep northern, like say Niger State, because probably 500 eggs, I have to write off like 50 crates of eggs immediately from my mind. That no, this 50 has to be cracked. Why? Because of the bad roads.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, imagine if there was a rail from Kwara to Lagos that would take your eggs by 4 a.m. and be there by 6 a.m. Just imagine if we had that. That would be wonderful, right? And it's
what I just need to get a Sienna that will just go to the train station and just pick from there, start distributing up and down.
Gotcha. I hear you. I mean, this is what we're talking about. Okay, let me get a VIP Wonsu in here.
Hello, sir.
VIP Wonsu.
Can I come in now?
Who is this?
This is Aju. I've been standing by.
Yeah, please hold on. I'll take you. You're going to be next. Let's get VIP Wonsu.
Let me, first of all, try to add to what the farmer boy was saying. Now, for me, I believe sincerely that for food, to bring down the cost of food is not by reducing cost of haulage. It is not even by improving power. What we need is industrialization. When an individual, right, can cultivate up to 5 hectares with machines, without any, easily as an individual, then the cost of production, the will be able to produce more. That is the issue. We should look at in those mechanized farming. That is the only way. If you like, because even right now, I want to tell you something, and that's the truth. I have trucks, right? And what happens is, if I have goods to take to the north, right? It will cost over 1.5 million to take goods from Lagos to the north. But when you are bringing back food items, it will come at almost half the cost of taking goods from Lagos to the north. That is how the business is, because the food sellers will not even pay that much. So what a lot of people do is the costs when we charge for transportation, right, to go to a long distance, especially going to the north, we are charging you what it will take us to and fro. So whatever comes back, whatever we are coming back with, is just like a bonus. Do you understand? So the truth is this: transportation is not really a big thing relatively to how it affects other people in terms of food, right? The only solution is when we start producing more. Many years ago, like 15 years ago, I was watching a program, and one guy said that there's a farm in South Africa that produces 1 million, that kills 1 million birds a day. 1 million birds. This is like 15 years ago. Imagine Farmer Boy can do 100,000 birds.
So are you saying I had you say the issue is not production? You're saying we should go more mechanized. Is that what I'm hearing you saying?
Yes. We should go more mechanized. When you can do more as one person, you can do more.
Yeah,
that is the only way.
Where will he store it though? Where would he store the birds if he makes them?
That's the mechanism. See,
no power.
When you produce, well, let me ask the question, right? I'm a more local person than you. At least you understand how it works every other place. Do you think the cost of production in China is lower than cost of production in Nigeria?
Yeah.
How much do we pay laborers? No, I don't think so.
Of course it is. They don't use generator in Nigeria. No.
How much do they pay this?
No, bro. How can you even say that?
No factory worker pays up to 30,000.
Bro, what is the power tariff in China?
I just checked and I saw that 1 kilowatt hour is about $7.
And what's it here in Nigeria?
It's way less here.
No, but you get it. Do you get it? You don't. Well, we don't use power. We use generator. That's what I'm saying. So they pay.
Even if we use generator.
Come on, man.
Can't do that calculation.
Come on, man. They use.
But it's something that we
okay, let's do it now. Let's do it together. So in a factory in China is paying $7 per 1 kilowatt hour. You are buying diesel at about 600 per liter.
Yes.
So how do it now? You are buying diesel to run a generator. He's just paying NEPA. So when he finishes his switch off his NEPA, you are paying running diesel, and you are buying generator capex. You are buying diesel OPEX just to produce the same quantity. That's why it's expensive.
Less than $1.
What's less than $1?
Diesel at about per hour.
What do you earn? You also earn less than $1 now. Your minimum wage, everything into Nigeria, you also earn less than $1 when you sell. He's exporting. What are you doing with your ports? Are your ports as efficient as the Chinese ports? No.
Okay. The thing is this, right? Because everybody says China is the ideal destination, right? Because cost of production is low. What I'm trying to say is cost of production in Nigeria is even much lower than China.
Then why are we importing food? Why are we importing things from China if their costs are higher, bro? It doesn't make any sense now. We're importing things from them because their things are cheaper. Textiles are cheaper.
Why I'm talking about industrialization is this. If I'm a tailor, let's use something.
All right.
Very simple. I'm a tailor, right? And I can produce just 2 shirts a day. From that 2 shirts, I will pay for my house. All my expenses
for
living a good life is on that 2 shirts.
Yeah,
if
I mean,
we have industrialization, which if I'm able to produce 1,000, do you understand? It will become cheaper. The cost of production becomes cheaper because of industrialization. Because I'm able to produce so much. Because if you give, for instance, Farmer Boy now, if he has 24 hours power and he does not have the ability to acquire machinery to produce more. It's still back to
Farmer Boy's tractor, his combine harvester got burnt. His other time was looking for spare parts for his combine harvester. He couldn't get it. In China, he can go and buy it and do his production. So the point is that to make goods in China is way cheaper than Nigeria. That's why they import goods over here. Textiles in Kaduna have collapsed because of Chinese imports. Because Chinese exports are way cheaper. Even with paying CIF, clearing the goods, they are way cheaper here. That's the point I'm making. Let me get Ahmed in here. Ahmed, you go ahead, sir. Ahmed YSF, business practitioner.
Can I just ask a question? I just have a question, Carol, please.
Oh, sorry, is it you? I'm so sorry. Yeah, go ahead, sir. VIP Wosu, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm sorry. It sounds as if I'm taking people back. But you said something about Dangote Refinery helping out with the FX. Can you kindly explain?
Did I say that? I said that, right? If Dangote Refinery is working, right, then you don't have to spend. You get more petrochemicals being exported. You export more byproduct of crude oil. That's what I said. Not the refinery. The question was about petrochemicals, not about the refinery itself.
Okay, but what's your position on it helping us with our FX challenge?
It wouldn't really because.
Do you think it's going to cause inflow of dollars into the system?
No, it has no bearing. Dangote Refinery would reduce the import cost, i.e. the clearing, the demurrage, but you are still going to pay for the crude oil in dollars. So it wouldn't have that dramatic effect people are thinking. Yeah.
Okay. Just to add to the last discussion, the last speaker, I don't think we can industrialize on diesel.
We can't.
We need that power.
Yeah, we can't.
We need that power. Seriously, need that power to move forward. That's just my.
Yeah, power, security, I think are the two main things that we should focus on now. Power and security. If you just focus on, if farmers can go and farm and then they can do mechanized farming, the cost of food goes down. Food inflation falls. You have the NPR also falling. The interest rates fall. That then attracts investment, attracts more people to then consume and buy, which then boosts output to the factories. You then boost jobs, reduces unemployment, creates capital formation. That's how wealth is created. Right now, we are still at the very, very beginning. Farmers can't go to the farm, and we have no power, and we have no certainty of policy. We still don't have ministers as of today. What today's date? Today's is the 13th. No ministers yet.
Yeah, because there was something you said about remittances, foreign remittances. So I think insecurity contributes to that. I don't know what you think.
I don't think so. I mean, remittances have been.
We had so much foreign remittances in the past.
No, remittances. Don't confuse remittances and FDI or an FPI. Those ones are the ones that the Oyibo people are bringing. I agree with you that if it's for FDI, FPI, they read the news so they don't invest in Nigeria. But Mama Emeka will always get money from Emeka in Houston. Whether there's Boko Haram, whether there's IPOB, she will always get her money from Emeka in Houston.
So there's a caveat to that. I'm not cutting you short, but I want to come into that straight away. See, Mama Emeka will get money from Emeka. If Emeka comes back, there will be more money. Does that make sense?
Money is money.
So if Emeka is going to come back, if Emeka is going to send money to Mama Emeka is going to send, let's say, plus minus 2.5% of his income. If Emeka is going to come back, Emeka will think about what he's going to do when he comes back.
Yeah, but it doesn't want to come back. We're talking remittances, right? So that's if it's going to come back, that's FDI or FPI. If it's going to come back to Nigeria, it's going to bring long-term equity capital. That's FDI or FPI. We're talking about remittances he sends from his bank account through crypto, through P2P, or through give it to Emeka by hand. That's what we're talking about right now. That Emeka will always send money home. BC will also always send money to Deola. Remittances.
Okay, cool. I agree with you. Yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome, sir. Let's get Liberty. Liberty, all eyes on the judiciary. What's up?
Thank you, Mr. Kalu. Thank you. I was just very drawn into the last discussion. I think you were the one exchanging with is the Chike, if I'm correct. You're talking about Mama Emeka sending say Emeka sending money to Mama Emeka. Okay, I'm Emeka's sister right now. Okay, I am sending money.
So, question: Has it gone up or gone down since? What's going on? Tell us your story.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like if you want to put it in that very simplistic description, the money I send now, that Emeka and I are sending, is not doing much in terms of inflation in the country. So if you are saying that is in terms of remittances, that will kind of bring some semblance of some economic activity that will translate to across the board to things improving somehow. I'm not an economist, maybe microeconomically across different small term, petty trading kind of action. I don't see how that is going to alleviate anything, because someone was talking about farmers going to the farm. Currently, there's insecurity in the country. So we are already in what? This is August ending. We're going to hit September very soon. And currently now, Nigeria, through ECOWAS, allegedly is trying to procure a war in Niger. So currently now we know fundamentally that security is not priority. There's not going to be enough peace in that land now for ordinary farmers to go to farm to bring about a reduction in the cost of food. So I and Emeka will now have to work doubly hard to be sending the little dollar or pound we're sending that has no value in terms of what Mama Emeka can do with it, even in the petty trading she's doing back home. So basically, which is the way forward? Where the future is so bleak right now.
I
so
hear
what
you.
What is the optimism? Because I see. I actually want to share in the optimism.
I hear
so
you.
that when I talk to Mama Emeka tomorrow, I can give her some hope.
True. I think you.
Where is the hope that you guys are talking about here now? Because if it's
Liberty,
if it's in terms of remittance, how far is that going to go?
Okay, Liberty. Let's talk about the overall effect. Without you, and I mean without the remittances coming from Nigerians abroad, the Nigerian economy will stop working. Let's just put that on the table, that it is the remittances valued at about 25 billion annually. It's just what we can count to. 25 billion annually, that is even keeping in Naira at 900. If you take away remittances, then we are done for in Nigeria. That's number one. So it's a very, very important part of our economy that we're getting remittances. The problem with the remittances is that it's social. So Emeka is sending money to my Emeka. He's not sending money from Emeka to invest in a business or to invest in bonds. He's just sending money to keep her going because her Naira revenues from her pension are going nowhere. So first of all, it's a very, very important plank. 2 weeks ago, we had a spaces about the diaspora, and I was asking the diaspora, what is stopping you folks from investing in Nigeria? And serious topic, right? People were saying policies, they don't feel confident, the elections, the economy and all that. And the point I was trying to bring out was that when you invest is when things are bad. That's when you can buy. If you bring $100,000 today, you can buy more assets in Nigeria than if you wait when the economy is booming. The Nigerian economy today has stopped working because we have introduced some policies without introducing, let me put it that we have removed the subsidy without giving in place the support structure. So it has stopped working. So any investor coming in today is a buyer's market. If you come in here, you can pick up assets on the cheap. That's really what it is today, right? Because if you believe that the economy in Nigeria is going to do better in 5 or 10 or 15 years, then buy today. If you think the economy is not going to do well in 5, 10 years time, then of course sell today. So it's your call. You've got to make that call.
Which assets now are you talking about?
Any asset. If you go to this Nigerian stock market, the price to earnings on Nigerian stock market today is less than 6. Which means that if you are buying the stock market, you are only paying 6 times the value. It can go to 20, it can go more than that. America is about, say, 12, but this is a cheap stock market. Same with land. Nobody has money. If you go in with cash to buy landed assets, you're also going to buy at a depressed price. So in Nigeria, there's no quote unquote money. So people are selling assets to survive. So if you are capital rich,
Can I help?
I'm just stating, yeah, essentially you can help, but I'm just stating.
Can I help explain that? Maybe try answering your questions when it comes to why are people in diaspora not investing? So
No, but hold on. I want Liberty. Are you okay? Did I answer that question? Are you satisfied?
Well, I think you've kind of it will help if you can point some points, because I'm sure there are a lot of us here listening who like, okay, stock markets, where do we go? How do we start? Because
Okay,
I remember some years ago I tried going on. It wasn't funny, I have to say
Okay,
to you.
you are
And-
in the
and
you are
I
in the
probably lost my money
I hear
because
you.
I had no idea who it was hard.
It's difficult
So
to give advice on
yeah.
Twitter, but let me tell you, you're in the UK. UK right now is paying 5%, which is very, very good. So if you give the UK banks a pound, you might, if you buy the UK bond, you might get 5%, which is very, very good. But Nigerian bonds do offer about 4-5% dollar terms on money market, 4-5%. So if you had money in a savings account in the UK and you were getting anything less than say 3%, Nigeria might be a good place for you to invest in dollar, because you're going to invest in dollar and get your return out in dollar. There are many Nigerian banks that offer a dollar money market. FCMB is one of them. AfriInvest is another one. IBT is another one. They offer dollar investment. So you're removing that exchange risk in Nigeria, right? If you also have the time and you have funds that you want to tie up in Nigeria, just to tie it up, you're not interested in maybe making a return or liquidity, you might also consider just buying a property, either land and just fencing it. It's not going to give you any liquidity, but it just ties your money in. It's sort of like you're just dumping it there. That's all I would suggest for a foreigner, in quote, that is come to Nigeria, because you are doing your dollar, so no exchange risk, or you are doing property, you're just trying to lock in money that you have in excess, like a retirement fund, because the value would appreciate. You won't get any dividends, but the value would appreciate, and if you sell it after 10 years, it would have kept pace with Nigerian inflation. If you are doing stocks, that's a different matter entirely. You are trying to buy into an asset class that is going very, very risky, that is basically at hostage to the dollar situation. Guinness, Unilever, Nigerian breweries, most of the big multinational Nigeria are all reporting negative figures based on the dollar revaluation. So it might not be a good place to buy now, but if you have a long-term outlook in Nigeria, it's the best time to buy, because you're buying them when they are selling at a loss. And if you simply hold them, they might turn out good. Remember, it's what is your objective. If you have a long-term plan, this is the best time to buy. If you want to trade, this is not a good time to go to Nigeria. That's how I will put it, right? Don't do what you don't know. But if you have a long-term plan, if you want to come to Nigeria and do commodities, ginger, soybeans, all those things are being sold abroad at big profits. Julius Berger has opened up a big, what's this legume called? They're exporting out of Lagos now. Julius Berger, that's how they're getting their monies when they do business in Nigeria. It converted Naira to dollars by exporting commodities from Nigeria. So there are opportunities out there, but this situation in Nigeria, you have an economy where there's no consumption. So you're only looking at assets that are not tied to consumption. You want to buy an asset that just pays you a dividend, i.e. dollar, or it's just going to hold your value. Anything that is tied to consumption, I wouldn't recommend that you do it right now in Nigeria. Liberty, does that help?
Yes, it kind of have. I've sent you some DM, Carlo, so reply me back. I'll probably take it off here and explore more with you. Thank you.
I got you. Okay, so let's get Ahmed. Ahmed, how you doing, sir? Ahmed Yusuf.
Carlo, I'm still here.
Oh my! I do. Ifeko, sorry. So you're next. Go ahead. I'm just following the queue. Ifeko, how you doing?
I'm sorry, Ifeko. Sorry, I jumped you. Sorry.
Twitter rearranges this. I do apologize.
You don't jump me too.
No, the Twitter nine they rearrange them. So make us the full answer they show for here. And I saw it to everybody. I think when I add you as a speaker, Twitter takes you right up to the top. So sometimes I see you and it goes back. I apologize, my fault. I will do it better now. But please, if I drop you, Yeah, if I drop it just because I want to make others to speak, right? If I drop it so I apologize to everyone. I do apologize. If Weko, please go ahead. I'm going to hear about it and I'll get Michael address. If Weko, go ahead, please.
It's okay. Good day, Kalu.
How
Thank
you doing?
you for holding the space. I'm not too sure if you're checking the comments that are being dropped, but there was a question that obviously caught my eye based on something you initially said, and that was obviously to do with Emirates. So I'll just read out the question. Should we expect to see more airlines like Emirates leaving Nigeria soon? And if you can just expatiate on that. Thank you. National Airlines. Thank you. And what the situation is with them. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I said my canary in the mine for Nigeria is Emirates. And I said if you see Emirates come back to Nigeria, that tells you that whatever policy the CBN and Tinubu are doing, it's working. I said it, I think 3 spaces ago. Emirates Airlines left because they are selling in Nigeria in Naira. Then they go to the CBN to get dollars, and they cannot get dollars from the Central Bank of Nigeria. So they just pulled out. Other airlines are here because they've now increased their Naira price, but still no dollars, right? So if you look at Nigeria to London, and Ghana to London, the Ghanaian price is way cheaper than flying from Nigeria. This is because in Ghana, they have no issues with getting dollars from their central bank, even though Ghana is broke. But in Nigeria, they have an issue. So they are adding that cost of waiting for dollars to your ticket price in Nigeria. That's what's going on, right? So if Emirates comes back, that means that the dollar supply in Nigeria has eased, and that Emirates is able to just go to the I&E window and get their dollars back. So whatever they say, if there's no Emirates, the policy is not working. That's a simple way of putting it. Did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, no. I guess we'll just stay watching and keep on paying these expensive tickets. But thank you.
Or fly to Ghana and then fly to Ghana to London. It's not really. I have done the comparison, Kalu, of recent. It's really not that different, to be honest. When you now tack on the ticket from Ghana to Nigeria as well, you know, it's when we kind of work out the entire total figure, it's really, really not that different, to be honest. And you're better off just spending the ticket just flying, either indirect or direct to Lagos itself. So I don't know. What's got to give? I know a friend told me if you use a foreign credit card and you book the ticket abroad, you do get a better price because now the airline knows they're going to get paid not from the central bank but from the credit card company. So you might want to look at that as well. So if you have a friend that lives abroad, just say, hey, could you book this ticket? The problem is this. When you do that, the airlines sometimes want to see that card that you used to buy the ticket. So keep in mind that's going to be a big problem that if you book unless you can get the guy to send you the picture of the credit card and say, this is my daughter or whatever, and I booked the airline for her. But that's the problem. So I'm trying to see, I go to the shop and I saw this Visa card, this prepaid Visa card. Does anyone know if those cards work in Nigeria? Like you can just buy them in the shops in America. They are Visa, but they are prepaid and you load them. I don't know if those cards would work in Nigeria.
I don't think so because of the I know some of them used to work for some people in Nigeria because they were using some of those cards to kind of pay like subscriptions and stuff. But I think there's some rule or some law that because of now they all need like addresses, right? So
yeah, but how would they? So if I buy it, if I buy it and I use my friend's address, how would they know I'm paying from Nigeria? Like if if I buy that card and I have a friend in America and I use his address and I pay for stuff in Nigeria, they wouldn't know, would they? I'm going to test it. I'm going to get a test. I'll buy a card. Who wants to do guinea pig? We'll buy a card. If you want to pay maybe something, send me maybe something like $20. Don't send me expensive. So send me something, I'll test it out. I'll buy the card here and I'll try to pay something for you. I'll use an address, something like that. Then we'll see if it will go through. If it's going to go through, interesting. All right. So I've got... Agbo 2. Thanks, ladies. You see the questions ladies are asking. You see how ladies are asking their questions. You see, very calm, very, very correct questions. Ladies are just the best. Go ahead, please.
On behind the scenes. So he's the people who work for Emeka to send the money. So he does a lot of technology for the World Remit, the Afri Change, the P2Ps, right?
Yeah.
And the volume has never been this high.
Wow.
It's one of the highest they've seen in a long time. Right? So if you notice, you'll be seeing all this World Remit advert on Facebook right now, on Instagram. They're pushing it because they're competing heavily. So we've never seen this kind of volume. And now a bunch of other guys, they're working with the Kuda Bank and another bank here in Canada, and they're building another app to compete. Even the Canadian government is going to fund that. So they've never seen this kind of volume in the longest time. So I don't know what the central bank is saying. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know how they're losing out of this market, but the volume has not been. So this floating has caused a lot of volume, a lot of traffic.
So you're saying that the float has actually been positive because people are sending more money back to Nigeria because of the float. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, they haven't seen it this high. Like people are sending money. It's just that it's not hitting the CBN bank's account. So that balance sheet or their FPNA, I don't know how they're missing that. Maybe they need to start contacting these IT boys, these P2P guys, and start doing a bargain with them and buying their own dollar from them. Because so what they're doing now is, I don't know if you know Afri Change. So what Afri Change is offering right now is paying school fees for people. I find the rate very abusive, but it's what it is. People are still getting the rate. So for example, they'll buy $1 from me, sending money to Mama Emeka for 700, right? And they'll sell it to Fumi, who wants to pay school fees in University of Alberta for $779. Like, it's so abusive. But then the money hits the school account really fast. Everything is done neatly. There's receipt, and both Mama Emeka and Fumi, they're both happy. Very seamless, and they haven't seen this much traffic.
Yeah, because I use an app. I use Keyoshi. I send money through them. I don't have any problems with it. It goes to my Nigerian bank, and all
Is that an American one? Is that an American?
They are everywhere. You can select if you want America or Canada, or you can select and you put an email for, say, America or an email for Canada. Then you can. Then it's a bid.
Canada is more very restrictive. It's very
than America.
Than America. It's more. I'm on the phone, sweetheart. Give me 1 second. So it's more restrictive here, right? So they audit it well. They audit it a lot. So you can. So for example, I can't do USD. I can only do CAD to Naira.
Oh.
I can't. Except if you are using all this transfer. Is it Wise or something like that?
Yeah.
But okay. Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to say, so this CBN financial statement, who audited it? Who are the auditors?
You want, geez, I have it right here. Let me look. But it was audited by, I think, geez, I don't want to call the wrong name. I'm looking at it right now. But it was audited. What's your question? You don't like the...
No, it wasn't.
Let me look.
I read it. I don't know. If it was a KPMG, PwC that audited it, I would have more confidence. So I'm not 100% confident.
I'm looking right now. Yeah.
So if you can tell me the auditor's name, because I was trying to find it in the notes, I couldn't find it, right?
Report of the Board of Directors, Statement of Audits. This is the governor signed. It's Ernest Young. It's EY and KPMG.
Okay, I couldn't find that. And the other last point I wanted to put out there is this. I'm from the Niger Delta, right? It's my region we are seeing a lot of birth defect. We are seeing a lot of miscarriages. We are seeing a lot of cancer. So when you say these things like blow up the ship and let it all sink, like whenever I hear that, my heart sinks, right? It's my village that this is happening. We don't fish anymore.
I hear you.
So let me tell you who is doing this bunkering. It is that, what is his name? Pompolo. He's the one and the rest that the ones controlling that area. So
I hear you.
It's my hometown. It's just we are seeing the effect of this blowing up. They keep doing and just gas flaring and just doing these things. It's hurting us badly. We've never seen this amount of cancer in the Niger Delta up till recently.
And it's going to increase. because
when I hear this, I feel like as if no one's really listening to us. They just see us as a money bag, as a region that will feed the nation, and I don't care if we even die, right?
And you are not. I mean, your sentiments don't have merit. There are videos in Port Harcourt today where people will scratch the table and there's soot on the table. There's soot in the air. That it was happening before the army started to blow up ships and planes. So the problem that the Niger Delta, sorry to say this, is a wild, wild delta, right? Things are happening there that can't happen in any part of the world. They are refining, the way they refine the oil that they just simply burn it like a local refinery, just burn it into the air. So when it rains, it's raining down the hydrocarbon, all that stuff is just raining down on people. In 20 years' time, the amount of issues that are going to come from that delta will be unbelievable. 20 years' time.
It's unbelievable. I can tell you now, my parents don't go to the village anymore. Okay, I have to go. My son needs me. Okay,
all right.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak, and it's always good hearing from you.
No worries. Say hi to your son for us. I appreciate you talking. Yeah, thank you so much. All right, I guess again, just to clarify, guys, I know it's harsh. Like she said, she's completely correct. It's harsh to say blow up the ship kind oil. It pollutes the environment. I get it, it's harsh. But my story is this, Normally, what would you do to bunkering ships? You would arrest them, then you will prosecute the crew members, prosecute the owner. We've done that before. We arrested them. We took them not to Nigeria, to Lagos even, and the ship disappeared. And if you go on Twitter, you see certain channels had a ship. That ship was arrested before. It's back in our Delta, new name, new crew, still stealing crude oil. So I'm just being radical here. If there's any other way you can get these ships out on the Delta without sinking them, maybe you want to pump the oil out, but that pumping oil out takes time. They will just bribe and it's all gone. That's why I'm just saying sink them there. Cost it's tough to say this, but what's the solution? Because we've tried the arrest and seizure, it hasn't worked, right? So I'm sorry, but I don't see another way to stop this thing than to just say, go gangster on it and then hope that it will be a deterrent on illegal activities. Somto, go ahead, sir.
Okay, greetings, Carlo.
Yeah, hi, what's up, man?
Okay, so I have two questions for you, basically. My first question is, I don't know, maybe you saw the news release from Nigerian BDCs last week, asking the CBN to ban Binance and other crypto P2P
that was a
exchanges
joke.
In Nigeria.
They were joking.
So I don't know. Would you say, what is your own view on the impact of crypto P2P on the Naira to dollar exchange rates? That's my first question. And then my second question would be, I don't know, but if the Federal Reserve in the United States, if they were to begin to lower interest rates, in your own view, do you think it's going to have an impact on the Naira? Would the Naira strengthen against the dollar if that were to happen? These are my two questions for you.
Yeah, good questions. Number one, the P2P market are just buying at a willing buyer, willing seller price. That's all they are doing. It's just a different way for folks that want Naira or want dollars to exchange. They are not interfering with whatever the government is doing. They are just, I want to sell dollar, you want to buy Naira, we exchange at a price. How do we get that price? We bid. Both of us bid, and then we get to say you should ban them so that people will come to you is incredibly SILLY. It's just a STUPID way of actually trying to solve a problem. It doesn't solve anything. It solves nothing. It's a very silly reason to say P2P is affecting Naira. So if you ban them, it's the same way the CBN tried to ban Aboki FX for publishing, just publishing the exchange rates. The same CBN that tried to cut trees to fight Naira. You know, it doesn't make it. These are people that are just, I don't know how, I don't want to go on Twitter, so let's not use bad words, you know. But it doesn't make any sense to do that. It's a silly excuse or silly reason. Leave them alone. If you want to compete against them, then compete against them by reducing your cost or by making your market more transparent or more open. You can't ban 44 items from your market, then ask the government to go and ban their own market. You can't even ban their market. Their market is online. Will you shut down the internet to ban them? So that's it's a non-starter there. If the Federal Reserve reduces interest rates, it would have a positive effect on the Naira. Because right now, if you hold Naira in the United States, you can get as much as 4% APY as interest rate on your dollar investment. That means that less folks are coming to Nigeria. There's no incentive to take the risk in Nigeria because I can get 4% on an Apple phone. If I have an Apple phone, I can get 4% on my phone. So why should I take more risk and come to Nigeria? In the past, dollar was about 1%, 0.5%, and Naira was 8%. So you can see the huge gap. So I'm incentivized to come to Nigeria to enjoy that huge premium. But right now the premium has shrunk. So why should I take the risk? On my phone, on Apple, I get 4%. Why should I then go to Nigeria, do exchange, do all this one just to get maybe 6 or 8%? So the answer is yes. If Fed reduces the rates, not just in Naira, but emerging markets across the world do benefit when the Fed reduces the rates. If the rate is still high, it does make emerging markets, you know, they suffer because they are competing with the US dollar, which they can't do. Okay, I've got Prof, incredible. Go ahead, sir. Hey, Prof, you've got the floor. Prof going once, Prof going twice. I've got property with underscore. Property, you got the floor, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, host. Good evening, Kalu.
Oh, what's up, man?
Hope I'm audible enough.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I came to your submission about locking your money back home in Nigeria on property because I think that's my field. And the industry has witnessed a lot of challenges ever since this administration came in. There are a lot of loss of confidence in Nigerians being a multidimensional ethnic groups. The kind of reports we got from the aftermath of the election made a lot of people lost interest. A lot of people lost interest in the key part of Nigeria. We all believe that in terms of these property things, it is being done on the island. It is safe and it is wise enough to invest your money on the island. But ever since this administration came in, their policies are bad. We don't see anyone to be working for now.
Let me ask you a question. So you sell property in what state?
I major in Lagos. We have properties in Abuja and we have in Lagos.
Okay, so you are saying that
there is a downslope ever since this administration came in.
In Lagos
between January and April. Hello?
Is it in Lagos or Lagos and Abuja or just in Lagos? Where?
Lagos and Abuja, basically.
What about Jos or Abeokuta?
No. I actually have not been to Jos. I do properties with estates and we got our title before we sell. So getting property title in Lagos and in Abuja, those two states, the demand is high, the value got double. So that is why I had to concentrate on those two states.
So the property has.
I don't know more about. Okay, can I talk?
I'm just asking questions, but I don't understand. So the sales of property in Lagos and Abuja has gone down. Is it like 10, 20, 50? What would you say? Just rough.
Mr. Kalu, now from your name, you're from the east. You are from Abia, to be precise. So if you're in Lagos during that election, if you know the threats, I'm from Kogi State. If you know the threats other people, other tribes faced from the so-called MC Oluomo, from the APC talks, from some of the, a lot of it happens in 2019 as well, when the Oba of Lagos was threatening to push all Igbo into the ocean if they don't vote APC. You know, the it was more this time around, very, very more. So a lot of Igbos are losing interest in developing Lagos. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not an Igbo guy, but I believe people from southeast, they have a lot of percentage in terms of property development in Lagos. They hold some value percentage. So the interest is declining. You understand what I mean by that?
I got you. So
I remember last year, I got two property for two guys in Texas. I got one at both at Aja anyway. One at Chevron, one at Aja. One is planning to sell the property. He got the property at 56. The selling price now is 120. And he's confused. He doesn't want to sell anymore. But with what he's reading abroad, what he's hearing about Nigeria, you can see this property is less than 9 months. Because everybody abroad just dream of coming to Lagos. Their place of visit or their place of whatever should be that corridor. And with the kind of investment on that corridor, that's the Peju corridor, it will boost the sales and it will boost a lot of value in that corridor. So this, my friend, is confused. But currently, in terms of the rate, I have a friend that works with the bank. This guy told me the value, most especially remittances from United States alone, is holding this country. That was why this Naira for dollar policy that just got ended when Tinubu came in. Why would CBN, the bank, be giving you Naira for collecting dollar? So it encourages a lot of people to send money back home. For $2,000, you get additional 10,000 Naira. Now, most of their policy now, they are trying to review it. At a point, they wanted to stop a lot of people from having a domiciliary account. Because I believe a lot of people are having domiciliary account. It is better, the best business now is to save your dollar in Nigeria. If you save your dollar in Nigeria, over time, it go appreciated.
Let me ask you a question.
Everybody's converting their Naira to dollar.
Let me ask you a question. There was a lady that was here talking about investing in Nigeria. So if you were speaking to that lady and she wanted to buy property, where would you would you still advise her? And let's be clear, she's from the southeast and all that. Would you advise her to buy in Lagos or Abuja? Where would you advise her to buy? Is it a good time for her to buy? What's your take?
You said it all. I listened to what you said the other time. Everybody is selling at the depressed price because a lot of people are. In fact, most of the company I sell for, there's what we call price updates. They do the price update after 3 months because they develop the estate, they develop the property for you to buy. I bought 3 months ago. You are buying now. We are going to pay for the same price. But now most developing companies are halting their price increase. For now, if I'm to advise her to invest, she should go to Ibeju. That corridor needs a lot of. In fact, Lagos in quotes and Nigeria in general, government is not interested in solving housing deficits. I believe you believe that with what I've just said. That is why this private company, partners, individuals are coming together. That is why you see somebody buy a land, try to erect a room, move there, all because of what? Wants to be a landlord. So government is not interested in solving it for us. And as I speak, that corridor, that Ibeju corridor, the free trade zone, the proposed airports by them, the Dangote refinery, the seaports, the corridor in quotes is having less apartment for people to stay. So if I'm to advise her, Nigeria is not going to secede now. I don't see it coming. But we are all hoping for a better policy and a better government.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's good information you give. Like some, it's let me deviate a bit. I was in a WhatsApp group chat, and that WhatsApp group chat has got lawyers, bankers, all that kind of stuff. And these guys are all people that live abroad, and the guys were saying there that they're not going to invest in a part of Nigeria again. That they are done. They're not going to invest there again. And I was shocked. This is what people say, but these guys were saying it, and they were saying it with conviction that we're done. We're done. We're not going to. We won't invest there and all that. So you are saying it again, and anecdotal evidence. So I don't know. It's definitely something that will be in your contemplation. So, but it's clearly a factor. If people are not buying property and developing property, I don't know what to say, man. I don't know what to say. Thank you so much. Yusuf Abdullahi, you've got the floor. Hey, Yusuf, got the floor going once? Yeah, Yusuf, go ahead.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Kalu. Just talk about like this CBN and the kind of the Naira to dollar issue. I think the main problem we have with that is just the supply and demand. From my own opinion, it's just the supply. The demand is more than the supply, and anywhere, any business or any kind of thing that demand is greater than the supply, of course there will be a black market, and there will be like other markets, and which will dictate the price of wherever it is, whether currency, whether anything. For example, we can take cocaine, for example. The reason cocaine is as expensive is because supply is very little. For example, if a pharmaceutical company starts producing cocaine in mass quantity, the price is going to drop because the supply is going to start getting greater than the demand. So I think wherever the CBN wants to do, because they can't defend the Naira forever. We don't print dollars, so I don't think we can defend the dollar. So either way, this demand will always be greater than supply. So my point is just like production. We just have to produce, and the only way to do that, and I've heard people talking about production, industrialization and stuff. I think one thing we need, three things from my own point is electricity, that's power, then security and efficiency. We just have to make sure all the processes are very, very efficient. And power, for example, I read kind of I think an article that we have trillions of dead assets in the real estate in Nigeria, trillions are just dead assets. So my point to that is, why don't we channel those investments into power? And renewable, for example, is very cheap. For example, solar is cheap, and it is easy to not it's cheaper, it's easy to set up, and it's very, very fast. And I think the federal government has kind of done good with the kind of law they've passed regarding state and I think private companies can generate power.
Yeah, it's just that, is it lack of, I don't know the word, right? We've taken our eye off the ball. Before Obasanjo came, Nigeria had not built any power plant in, I think, 20 years. Obasanjo came, built 10 brand new power plants. 10 brand new power plants in Nigeria. Gas powered, Geregu, all those guys. Then we had Yaradua, he really didn't stay for long. We had Goodluck Jonathan, he stayed for 5 years. And we had Buhari, he stayed for 8 years. Buhari did the Siemens deal. I read in the paper the other day that the Siemens guys are saying that they're going to complete the project in 2030. I remember after the Lebanese civil war, how they got the ABB and someone else to do power in Lebanon, and it was in record pace, and they got this power done. I think of Abba. I'm from that part of the country. Abba has got Geometric, private sector power company. They are still not operating. Issues with Enugu, a distribution, Geometric. Nigeria, there's this lack of urgency to develop because the guys that make decisions have generators. So there's this lack of urgency to get development done. It's not just power, telecommunications. All they tell you is not for the poor. Roads, they can fly private jets. So once they settle themselves, schools are bad, they go abroad. Hospitals are bad, they go abroad. Once they settle themselves, they don't care anymore. So maybe if you ban generators in Nigeria, just ban it. People won't take it anymore. People can't stay a week in Nigeria without generators. When they put pressure on the governors, on the president, power will be fixed. To be fixed in no time. But this generator issue, I have generator, so I don't care about power. If the governor, the president were connected to PHCN will be working without question. If their kids went to schools in Nigeria will be world class without question. It's just, I've come to the gangster level in Nigeria now. That sometimes you really have got to put people's skin in the game. If you don't have skin in the game, nothing will work in the country. If people don't have skin in this game, nothing will work. What is hard in power? This power thing, what is hard in it? I'm not an engineer, but what is hard in power, in getting homes electrified? India has electrified everybody. Everyone is electrified. Ukraine, we watch Ukraine on TV. They are fighting the war. They've got power in Kyiv or whatever they call it, right? So what is hard in this power? So, you're right. The renewables are there. We have masses of empty land in the north. You can put solar panels out there and have solar, but we don't do it. Everybody's looking at gas power from the south. You take gas-powered power plant and then you run the transmission lines all the way to the north. I don't know, man. So Yusuf, good call out, but till we have folks with skin in the game, nothing's going to change. Maybe if you if you just see generator, cut it off, let everybody be in darkness, they will fix power in 1 year. They will fix it in 1 year. But as long as people are getting generators, or people can go abroad for schooling, or can fly abroad to get medical checkup, then your schools, your hospitals, your power will never work. So elect leaders that got a skin in the game. That's what I would say. Hey, Wilfred, what's up, man? Hey, wind it down, guys. Yeah. Yusuf, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to ask some questions. I'm not an economist, or neither am I a finance person, but I just want to ask some couple of questions. One, I understand that FX market is more of a supply and demand, and prior to 2015 elections, this is when we started experiencing this high difference between the official price and the black market price. There were sort of people were like buying dollars to keep in their bank accounts, hoping to sell it maybe after 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 1 month or 2 months, to make profit of it. So it becomes transactional. It becomes like buying and selling, stuff. So I want to ask, can government make a policy, to discourage that attitude? And why is it necessary? Because I think Nigeria is one of the countries that has the highest number of individual domiciliary accounts. Virtually everybody have domiciliary accounts in Nigeria. You go to the forest market, hoping that tomorrow, which always cashes in, that they'll buy dollars, save it in their domiciliary account. Tomorrow they'll pick it up, go sell it, and make humongous profit. Is there anything that can be done to dissuade citizens from doing that, either by policy or any other means?
The question is, what's wrong with having a domiciliary account?
Okay,
tell me what's wrong. No,
one.
Wilfred, tell me what's wrong with having a domiciliary account. What's wrong?
Yeah, what I feel, there's nothing wrong in having domiciliary account, especially for business owners. have like an importer, for example, who does businesses in foreign currencies. I don't see anything wrong in that. But individuals who do not, somebody who does not have a hope of maybe traveling outside the country for the nearest future, buying dollars to stock in it is panic buying.
Yeah, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
Yeah, I see that as encouraging. When there is any, if there is rush, it increases the demand.
Yeah, but what's wrong with that? That's what I'm saying.
It creates an artificial scarcity.
Yeah, but what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with it? What's wrong with that? Let's change dollar to rice. During Christmas, people hoard rice, buy rice, increase demand. They don't eat all the rice they buy a bag of rice. Is there anything wrong with that?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong in it, but let's compare Nigeria to other countries. I was in South Africa some maybe years ago, and I went to change my, I had some dollars with me, a couple of dollars with me, and I went around and checked to see if I can actually change to get, rands, but no one was willing to buy because there was no, it is not like everybody knows that, okay, you go to this, you can always buy at the normal rate, you understand, that is prevailing at that point in time. But in our own case, because of that attitude, because of the attitude, you go, you buy, you go and save it in your, and it's a transactional. So when something becomes transactional, profit and, I think it creates panic in the society.
Yeah, but I mean, I hear you, and what I'm asking those questions is that you are describing what is happening, but you're not really saying what is the problem. Nigeria has banned, during Fela's time, remember Fela that is late dead? Dollar was banned since his time. He was arrested, beaten up, jailed because he had dollars with him. Until today, where this is 2023, we're still talking about dollar holding, banning. Why?
I'm not encouraging. I'm not saying ban dollars, but there should be a policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN policy, that discourages people who do not have need for that.
Why?
Dollar.
And I'm asking you why. Why?
Go flood the FX market exchange or the black market. It encourages.
Yeah, but why? Why are you? People want dollars because the alternative is not working for them. So if you want people not to get dollars, make the alternative work for them. You said now you went to South Africa, no one wanted to take your dollars because the rand works for them.
Yeah.
So
okay. So that's the first question. The second question is on do you see relationship between printing of this 21 trillion naira that was printed by CBN and corruption, the illegal printing of currencies, the corruption in the pervasive corruption in the society or in the government, because at the end of the day, these government officials, they print the same money, they steal the same money, they also take that same money to go back into the FX market to scramble to get the dollars. Is there a relationship, that also contributes to the issue we are having with FX in Nigeria?
I mean, it's a simple answer now. The answer is yes. Because, when they wrote the CBN Act, before this CBN got its independence, the CBN was an ATM of the military government. So we had, under the former President Abacha, the head of state Abacha, you could just go to the CBN and take out dollars and they'll say it's for security. So when we came out of that, what we tried to do was to have a central bank that was independent, to have monetary policy independent from even the executive. So the laws to the CBN today makes them independent. They can spend the foreign reserves as they will, to defend the Naira as they will. They don't need to go to the House. They don't need to go to the Senate. They answer to nobody. It's on purpose to give them the independence. Then we put checks on them and we say the CBN governor cannot even have a vocation. So he can't even join Nigerian Chess Society because we want to totally separate the governor from the economy so that when he's taking his decision, he's taking it without fear or favor. So the executive, and this is not just Nigeria, everywhere in the world, Look at how Trump fought with the Federal Reserve chairman. Look at how even this current President Joe Biden he invited the Fed chairman and he was announcing that they want to do policies because he's saying indirectly, I want to spend, this guy doesn't want to spend. It's not just Lyndon Johnson fought with his Fed chairman. The executive wants to spend. That's their job. Their job is to spend on projects. That's their job. You don't blame them for it. But the Federal Reserve's job is to stop monetary expansion by increasing interest rates. So you have a situation where you put a guy, protecting him by laws, and you said, we will trust this guy to take the right decision. Then the central bank governor then goes hand in hand with a political party and they expand spending. They spent what Emefiele printed, 23 trillion, is more than the total foreign reserves of Nigeria. So what he printed, think about this. The guy printed in 8 years an amount in excess of the foreign reserves in Nigeria. Still, the government was borrowing. Both locally and internationally. So what exactly was the money being used for? But to your question, all that money contributed to inflation, it contributed to the buying of dollars, and then the same CBN then raised the monetary policy rate to soak up the same money that it printed. So it then killed SMEs. So CBN printed, CBN raised the rates, CBN made SMEs die, which then made local production very expensive, then made imported goods very cheap. So if you connect the dots, you just wonder, what else can Nigeria do? The laws are there, they weren't followed. Emefiele today has been arrested for holding a Dane gun, not for printing money in excess of the CBN Act, not for breaching the Act to printing more than 5% of the monies for the federal government. He had the power. He had the laws protecting him. Why did he print for Buhari? Why did he print? I don't blame Buhari. I don't. Buhari is the executive. He wants to spend. If the central bank governor prints for me, I will take it and spend. If I become president today and I have a central bank governor that will print me money, oh my God, I will love him too. So, people are, the CBN and the board of the CBN, they have to answer questions. It's not just don't take Emefiele out. The board of the central bank, the debt management office, the National Assembly that sat down and allowed for 8 years 23 trillion to be printed without objection, that now we have to pass a law or whatever to put that money back into the debt. Come on, man. So we have to, I think more questions need to be asked, Wilfred. And you are correct. To answer your question directly, yes, if you print money, it was illegal printing and it does contribute to inflation and to the fall in Naira. That's to answer your question directly.
Yeah, and the final one.
No, you said two, so we have a lot to go. Yeah?
Okay.
Thank you so much. Great questions.
Yeah, all right.
Architect Uche Rochas. How are you doing, sir?
Good evening, Carlo, and good evening, everyone.
How are you, sir?
I read the topic interesting, though I am not an economist, but I want to contribute a little and ask a little question as we proceed. I want to bring our attention to the corruption in our system, which is the bone of contention of why we are having these issues in our FX. Truly, we are a nation that rely more on imports, and this thing give us more give Naira a pressure against the dollar, because we import virtually everything we use. I've happened to be in some markets where I see where these dollars have been transacted. I have friends who was in BDC when it was exchange. Then let's look at this corruption aspect of it, the time of Emefiele when he was then governor. when there were this thing they call from Q. I noticed that a lot of people, you see people, they will open like more than 10 or 20 different companies, all these ventures. What are they using it for? They are using it for from Q. They are not importing anything, but they were using it as a kind of transaction, a means of livelihood, where they will get this dollar from the CBN rate and sell to the black market people. Okay, today, you go to the bank, you want to source dollar, you will see that the bank will rather sell to people in the market than you who come to use this dollar official. So you see this corruption in the system are also eating us deep. And today, we don't see it as a corruption means again, it's a business. So I think this is what the government should look into to curb this racketing in dollars, because many people who goes to the bank to get this dollar from the bank, who want to use it legitimately, will not get it. Rather, bank will take this same money and give to people in the street to sell to you at their own rate. Meanwhile, maybe, I don't know what they call that, E and whatever window. Bank will get this money from the CBN at a good rate. Instead of giving to people like us that will need it for something, they will sell to people who in turn sell back to us. So what is government doing, or what is CBN doing to curb this crime that is going on? That's my number one question. After the answer, maybe if I have more time, I will ask the next question.
It's going to be just one question for you. I think that's why they did the float. And all the float is done to say everybody has the same level. If you want to import pure water with dollars, go and import pure water with dollars. If you want to import machinery that makes sense, go and import it. The mistake that they've done is they've allowed the I&E window to retain the 44 items block list. Once they do that, it's no longer a market. You can't have a market and say this market is for everybody, but you can't sell tomato, vegetable, and meat in this market. If it's a market, then everyone should come in to buy and sell. If they do that, that will then compete directly with the P2P market. Then Nigerians can then say, okay, I like the customer service in this market, and I'm going to go here. So take away that 44 market ban list, allow the market, everyone to trade based on your level. If Nigerians want to drink imported water, fine, pay for it. If you want to wear imported Arsenal jersey, wear it. If you can't, don't buy foreign goods. So there'll be two markets, foreign and local. If you want imported conflicts, buy. If you want national conflicts, you buy. End of story. That's really where we should go to. Hope that answers your question, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Then the final question. For instance, now I want to open LLC for importation of a machinery or something of that nature. Does it permit me to buy my dollar and fund my dollar account, or am I getting this dollar from the bank with my naira? Because this is getting me confused.
The way it's supposed to work is that you simply feel the same process. There is no change in what you feel. You feel your same Form M and all that. The difference is that the bank is not going to the central bank to get your dollars. The bank will then go to the I&E window, make a bid comparing to, and then it will say, I want to buy dollars at maybe 900. If it gets a seller, it matches and you get your dollars. That's the only difference, who they are funding that dollar from. So if I'm an exporter, I sell to the I&E window. If I'm an importer or an investor, I buy from the I&E window. That's the only difference. Everything remains the same, just who buys and who sells. So yeah, that should have been the only difference. Yep, makes sense. All right, super. Let me get Uyosa. Did I get that right, sir? Uyosa. And guys, we're going to wind down. I'm going to stop this at the end of the hour. We've got about 10 minutes more, so let's just get quick comments in. Then we'll round up. We've got about 10 minutes to go, guys. I'll let you guys go enjoy your Sunday. You guys have got work tomorrow. I get that. Uyosa, go ahead.
All right, thank you so much. You can hear me, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I've been learning a lot from your space. I have a question, sort of like a clarifying question. So I'm based in the US, yeah, and I'm also in the group of people that normally send money back home to Nigeria, and also I know that Nigeria offers like higher interest rates in terms of like money market funds and those kind of stuff compared to the US that has just about 4%. I would like to ask, what would you general advice in terms of what would be the best way to invest in Nigeria? Because I mean, there are a lot of things to do, but this money that we're sending, to Nigeria as like helping family members and all that, if it's invested, we could use the proceeds to help them while the investment is also running. So, what would be the best way? I know money market funds are good. Do you have any other advice or any other suggestions?
Are you saying what you should invest in if you're coming from abroad? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
I already told the lady, right? So for me, you shouldn't invest in any Nigerian sector now that is dependent on demand, because consumer demand in Nigeria has fallen. What I told her was that money markets are really the best way because it's easy in and out. You are also investing in dollar. So I like dollar money market. I like that because you remove the exchange risk from Nigeria. And I also mention the banks. FCMB does it. IBTZ, even AfriInvest have money market funds. So target those ones. I said if you want to do a longer term, if you're looking at a longer term investment that would not pay you any dividends, you might consider buying real estate because you are buying at a depressed market. You hear what the guy for real estate told us today, that lots of Nigerians are no longer buying in certain parts of the country because of fears. If you follow Warren Buffett, it says buy when everyone is afraid, sell when everyone is happy. If you buy today, you might be buying at a depressed rate, might be good for you. So that's where I'll stop, because any other thing would involve you being in Nigeria. If you want to buy equities, same thing. It's a long-term play. You are hoping that in 5-10 years, the country is going to be turning around, so you're buying at a lower valuation today. That's how I would put it. Apart from that, I would be cautious. Yeah.
Okay. Just one quick follow-up, please. Like as a dual resident, not like a citizen, but like a dual resident living in the US and also as a Nigerian ties. What do you think? Like investing in the US. I mean, leaving aside the currency comparison stuff. Like, which country do you think has the highest level of like dividend return on investment? The US or Nigeria?
That's an interesting question. I always assumed it was Nigeria. Because I said Nigeria was developing. So if you invest in Nigeria, it gives you a higher return than America. But what has happened is that if you compare all over the world, take all the asset classes everywhere in the world, by ETF, by exchange traded funds. So you take Japanese property, you take maybe UK stocks, all the asset classes in the world over 10 years. Which one has given you the highest return? Not dividends, just return in the entire world. It's US equities. Then what's the second one? It's US properties. So US REITs. Number 2, US properties, number 1. That's the whole world, not just Nigeria. Emerging markets, I think, will do better. Not that much because of the risk, right? So in Nigeria, what you find is that you have specific companies that do very, very well, but the market in general has got a lot of Nigerian factor risk. For instance, Nigeria in 2020 was the best performing stock market in the entire world. But that was because of Dangote Cement, right? But America, the market, it's on itself gives you lots of opportunities for growth. America is a growing market, right? And it's also a mature market, large, liquidity, safe, they've got their rules. So I would say diversify always. But if you live in America and you have that advantage to then invest in America, I would always, based on your age, I would always put a lot of things there. Then do your Nigerian. I mean, take advantage of the fact that you live there. It's a large market. If you buy equities there are more opportunities there than Nigeria. That's how I'll put it. When Nigeria breaks free, the appreciation will be faster than America. But the spread, breadth, and liquidity of America gives you a big advantage that Americans alone cannot capture. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Great. Because the last two guys and we'll just shut down. Let's get Mustafa and Ike and we'll just call it today for today. I'm so sorry, guys. Liberty, did you have a comment? There was a guy that I wanted to meet.
I have a question, but let the other guys who've been, their hands have been up.
Gotcha, Mustafa.
Something different.
You got you. Mustafa, you got the floor. Mustafa, you've got the floor. Going once. Mustafa going once. Ike going. Ike, go ahead, sir.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I think you guys have dealt really well with the economic implication of the CBN annual account, but what really got me to worry is the accounting analysis of it, really. I think the CBN has left Nigeria in the dark for 7 years, and it's really unfair because I have a kind of inside knowledge on how this account has been audited. In fact, I don't have a copy now because I've left KPMG, but I know audited account in 2016, 17, and 18, and I probably have a copy before I left. What really pains me the most is the fact that these audited accounts were provided to external investors or external partners with CBN before they issued any loans. So these foreign guys know in detail our financial dealing as a country more than people in Nigeria. And because of that, they are able to really exert pressure in a very different way that we really do not understand. And at the end of the day, what CBN kept doing was to keep chasing shadows, banning our client from buying FS in the pirate market. And they are still doing it to today. They are still going after Aboki FS. They are still going after Binance Finance and all that. Meanwhile, they're just printing money all around. And it will be really interesting because I've seen a lot of our journalists trying to do a very good accounting analysis of how they accounted and disclosed the transaction. But there's still a long way to go. And let me just pick one for instance. Now, the way CBN obtained loans from those two foreign banks was really fraudulent. And the way they disclosed it in the account was also even more ridiculous. There's no way you take a loan and then you go and disclose it in other liabilities. You know,
I don't see what they did wrong. The securities lending, they have the foreign reserves. They took the margin loan. What's wrong with that?
It's the way you account for it.
How did they account for it wrong?
How to account for it and how to disclose for that information.
Well, how did they account for it wrong? How?
How to support that. But the way they've made it, the way they've accounted for it, and the way they've disclosed the account is such that you need technical people to be able to understand what they've done.
All right, I got you. But Ike, I hear you, but we're going to the weeds, right? It's disclosed, right? It's securities lending, is right there in the balance sheet. So I get where you're going to, but I really don't see any smoke there. Let me get the last.
There's really a smoke there.
Okay, very quick. You're going to be the last person. So very quickly, sir. Very quickly. If you, yeah, okay. So I'm so sorry. I was going. So let's get Prof in. Prof, you're going to be the last. Let's hear you go. Prof, incredible. Prof going once, Prof going twice. Liberty, let's close it out with you then. We'll just call today. Liberty, go ahead.
Yeah, my question is this, probably a layman's question, and I'm sure a lot of us have this problem. Now, in terms of remittance to Nigeria, I have a situation where we remit, we give reasonable money, nothing, it's not like billions, but something reasonable to friends who are doing business and what have you now. What I've found is, two things. Is there a way to, because I'm thinking I'm giving out, me and probably others like me give out money to these people, they do business. And over time, they don't give payback in the time they want to pay back. And we've had this money tied somewhere where if we put it in something, it will give us some yield or return. How do we, in a layman's time, give people money to in a way that if they don't pay back in the period they say they're going to pay back, can't we get something back, and how do we factor that in? Because
I wouldn't.
You might be giving somebody like ₦1 million, and the person says, I'll give you back in 6 months, and it's nearly 1 year plus, and you still haven't got your money back. Rather, it's coming back in trickles.
I hear you. I wouldn't do that sort of business because there's nothing you can do about it. It's going to cost you more to get redemption. So I wouldn't lend anyone money. If you want to support people, support them. If you want to invest through a fund, do that. But I wouldn't go into the business of dealing with Nigeria in anything that needs my personal intervention to get my dividends. If you're not trading with a company, don't do it. If you're in America, don't lend money or support anyone. If you want to support with a grant, do it. But don't do any investment because there's nothing you can do if I don't pay you back. Will you fly to Nigeria and follow me? So just leave it alone. It's not something you can change. Don't worry, we're coming for the Canadians. I'm working with the guests. We're going to come for the Canadians to talk about immigration, business. We're going to come talk to the diaspora folks. We're cooking something, right? So guys, thank you so much for spending 3 hours with me this Sunday. We're here every weekend talking money, of course, the economy and finance. My name is Kalu Aja. Do try to join us all the time where we talk and learn together. I've got a book. Book is on my profile. Let's talk about your money. 22 years of experience distilled in one book. Get it? It's on Amazon. And with that note, guys, I'll see you guys next week. Talk to you guys later, and bye.